Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Sharifa, and my poetry name is New Lily. If you're new to my channel, please check out the links located in the description box and comment section. And in both locations, you'll find an identical set of links. Links that lead to videos that talk about what started my targeting in 2020, and links that lead to videos that share information, excuse me, y'all, sorry, I just ate, about the targeted individual program. Information about technology used on target. Excuse me, y'all. I need to blow my nose too. It's early in the morning, y'all. If you look up at the screen, you'll see it's 2:29 a.m. I'm at work. Y'all know I work 2 jobs. I'm at my night job right now. I'm really irritated, going through a lot of stupidness as usual. Target, right? But then also too congested. I got my hair done earlier, and it's not really tight, but it's kind of tight. It's the do-rag really that's squeezing my head. I'm trying to preserve the hairstyle. It came out really good. But, so that's kind of giving me a headache, dealing with stupid nonsense, like I just said, not to repeat that again, but that's the main reason why I'm making the video. And just congested, y'all. I always deal with this stuffy nose thing, right? It's something I've had since childhood. Those of you that have been subscribed, you know about it. I've talked about it in several videos. Anyway, so excuse the nasally sound if I sound nasally tonight, and also the indigestion. I just ate greasy KFC. Like, I've been eating a lot of junk recently, y'all. I talked about this in one of my recent videos. It's ridiculous. I'm still working out and consistent with my working out and still bulking and trying to gain weight, but I'm not trying to do it the unhealthy way, and I have been eating a lot of junk recently, y'all, like donuts, cookies, sometimes slipping in now KFC. I gotta do better. Anyways, I'm not trying to go off on a tangent. So, yeah, check out those links though, y'all. Like I said, there are links that lead to videos where I tell my story. There are several different video options you can choose from. And then there are links that, like I said, share information about the targeted individual program. Info about the technology used on targets, right? It's some serious high science stuff, y'all. Microchipping, nanobots, etc. I've taken my time and I've done some in-depth research over the course of the last 2 years. And the reason being is because I found out that I was a target at the end of 2022. And if you listen to my story, you'll hear the whole story of how that happened. The targeting, again, started in 2020, literally right after I graduated from college and moved back home. Started that summer, and it went on for 2 years here on Island, the island that I was born and raised. I tried to relocate. I ended up, being followed. You know how this thing works if you're a target. If you don't know, you'll learn soon enough. It followed me. I had some horrible reactions to it following me. Nothing physical. I haven't physically harmed anyone. But I said some offensive things, and it led to the targeting going viral. I also had an incident with a police officer in Indiana that also added to the viralness of the targeting. So the targeting went viral. I ended up coming back to the island I tried to relocate off of, and obviously the targeting had changed. More people were involved. I believe my quote-unquote threat level, they know I'm not a threat, y'all, but that's what they call you when you're a target. My quote-unquote threat level, I believe, went higher because of the offensive things that I shared and said. Mind you, some of the offensive things that I shared was in the privacy of my vehicle, y'all, in Florida. I was living in my car for a couple months before I got back to the island I tried to relocate off of. And it was reactive abuse. I had a reaction to being stalked and harassed and antagonized by thousands and thousands of people. And I sat in my car and I shared some Hebrew Israelite propaganda, some offensive Hebrew Israelite propaganda, which I'm going to talk about that a little bit in this video too. Mind you, I've done it in several videos. It's this weird subjective bias thing where I'm the only one getting backlash for certain things that other people have done or said. It's the craziest thing ever to me. I even talked about where I learned some of that stuff from, and it still doesn't seem to matter. Anyway, so I'm going to talk about that in a minute too. But anyway, so oh, my head is hurting me. I forgot what I was saying, though. My head is really hurting me, y'all. I'm sorry. So that led to the targeting going viral, though. The thing blew up. Ended up, eventually coming back to the island I tried to relocate off of, and the targeting had changed. It was just completely, just horrible, y'all. I thought the thing was bad before I left. Then they introduced neuromonitoring and microchipping and thought projection, and I realized what true torture really was. Anyway, so I've been dealing with that for the last 2 years. Anyway, so this video, y'all, is just documenting something that happened the other night, and also talking about, again, something I just recently talked about in a video that occurred that I think they're trying to run with and use to propel the false narrative that was created from the text message. So it's a lot to uncover in this video and unpack, and I really don't feel like talking. It's a lot that I need to talk about, and I really am not in the mood. But I need to make this video. So there's a lot of bullshit happening as usual. So I took notes, y'all, about what I want to talk about. Again, you know, I feel so stupid repeating this over and over and over again, because this is like the 10th video that I'm repeating this in. But as you guys can see, it's the wee hours of the morning. If you check out the last video I posted 4 hours ago, tearing up, you'll hear me saying that tomorrow, well, technically today, because it's after 12 now, Sunday, I'm going to make the video with me on camera. You'll hear me talking about the fact that I've said it in several videos and I've just been procrastinating, tired, working 2 jobs, you know, not feeling like getting it together and putting myself on camera. Just got my hair done, so, you know, there's a little bit more motivation or incentive there. But I was talking about the fact that for sure today, right, obviously at normal hours when I'm off, I'm going to make that video on camera. Here I am now making another video, and I have yet to post the on-camera video, but that's because, as you can see, this is 4 hours after making that tearing up video or posting that poem, tearing up. So it's still not, it's Sunday technically, but it's not daytime. So it hasn't, you know, reached to the time that I said I would put the video up. But some things have happened that I've been wanting to document, and now it's kind of come to a head here at this random hour of the morning. And so I'm making the video now to talk about it. There's like several things I have to talk about, y'all, and I can feel like it, but I have to. So hold on, y'all. Let me just stop the video and listen to what I've said so far. You know I like to do that sometimes, y'all. Especially when it's a time like now where I'm having a headache and it's the wee hours of the morning and I'm susceptible to rambling. Let me just stop the video and listen to what I said, and then I'm going to come and finish the video. I'll be back. All right, y'all. So let's get to the video. Let's talk about what's going on. So let's go over to the notes. Sorry, y'all. I think, yeah, here it is. I skipped over it. Okay. So the title of this video, well, when I was planning to make it, I was going to title it The Sabotaging of the Targeted Individual. That's why you see that title above the points that I have listed. I don't know if I'm going to make that the title of the video. Anyway, so the first thing I want to talk about is my credit report and my attempt to get a vehicle. Then it's going to segue into an incident that I had with someone in my close circle because of my, basically my reaction to what I discovered on my credit report, like more sabotage, obviously. And then this person in my close circle came home while I was in the middle of having this reaction, and then started having this loud conversation out of his room with directed convo. It's a loaded thing, y'all. We're about to uncover it, like I said, not uncover it, dissect it. But first I want to talk about the credit report. Then I'm going to touch on the gay programming, right? Because they've been programming me. It's high science MK Ultra programming, right? So constantly they'll send you like certain things and sensitize you to certain things, right? Hold on, y'all, I need to blow my nose. Anyways, y'all, continuing on with the video. Yeah, so like I was saying, they sensitize you to certain things. I've talked about this in several videos. It's MK Ultra programming, right? So like, let's say they're trying to sensitize you to a certain narrative, like you being gay or you being a thief or you smelling bad. These are all things they've thrown at me in my targeting. So I'm giving you examples that have actually been used on me in my targeting. If they're trying to sensitize you to that and push that narrative and make that your reality, they'll push that into your life from every aspect. You'll get it from the technology, you'll get it in person with directed convo, with conversations with innuendo, with sensitization, etc. With the shadow networking AI software, which is one of the informational videos about technology used on targets that I share in the description box and comment section. Several videos sharing info about this AI software. All of it's AI. It's all artificial intelligence. The technology, the shadow networking software that they use to hack all of your technological devices and send you things with subliminal messaging. For example, YouTube or Instagram. Once they have you targeted and they decide to use this shadow networking software on you, they hack all of your technological devices, your phone, your computer, the radio, anything that hooks up to the system, right? Because it's like a gridlock system. Anything that hooks up to the internet or the radio waves, etc. You know, they get radio stations involved. This sounds crazy. It sounds ludicrous, but it's literally like the Truman Show. If you watch that movie, that's an example or an emulation of what a target goes through. Of course, it's over-exaggerated and there's satire in that movie. And that movie makes it look a lot more jovial than it really is. But it's like basically a play on the Truman Show. That's what it is. It's like all of these resources are used. You know, all of these people get involved in the targeting. And this is why the target might actually believe they're crazy. Because it's so hard to believe that all of this effort and all of these resources are being used on one person, especially somebody that's not a celebrity. You know, typically insignificant everyday people is who it's being used on. It's not like it's being used on, I've heard celebrities have been targeted too. Don't get me wrong, there have been targeted celebrities, y'all. But it's not like that's a common, it's not like that's not the majority, right? You do have celebrities that have been targeted. That's not the majority. So typically it's an everyday person that's getting targeted. And so when you start to realize that all of these resources are being used on you, right? You might start, if you don't do your research and really learn about this program and validate the experience that you're having, you might think you're crazy. You might think you're schizophrenic, and that's what it's meant to do. It's meant to emulate schizophrenia. And so, like, a lot of targets get tricked into or gaslit into believing that they're crazy. And they'll pop pills and all, some of them. There's this girl on YouTube. I was going to make a video about her. I did make a video about her that got deleted. I said one of these days I'm going to make a video again comparing notes and what she said and, you know, just basically showing that she's a target. The girl's a target, man. She thinks she's schizophrenic. She has this whole channel full of subscribers. Of course, they're not shadow banning her YouTube because she's pushing the narrative of schizophrenia. I still to this day don't know now that I've been targeted and I've learned all the things that I've learned now, y'all. To this day, I don't know if schizophrenia is even a real mental illness or if it's all fictitious. Because obviously mental illness exists. And I definitely subscribe to that. Like, I know mental illness exists. And I want to become a psychologist. Y'all know that's the goal, right? Eventually. But schizophrenia specifically, now that I know what I know about targeting and the fact that a lot of targets get gaslit into thinking that they're schizophrenic, I don't know, because there's a conspiracy theory out there like this, y'all, that schizophrenia is not real. Like, it's a fictitious mental illness and it's really a target. You know, like it's like some sort of cover that they created to gaslight a target into feeling like they're crazy. And what happens is oftentimes that person will end up on meds or in the psych ward or whatever, right? So speaking about this lady, I want to make a video about her. She's targeted, right? She was doing a video where she, you know, like how they have simulators on YouTube, basically showing you a simulation of what something might look like. For instance, if you took LSD, they have simulator videos. You can look up on YouTube LSD simulator, and they'll show you from a first person view to the best of their ability in that video what it looks like when you're high on LSD. They have that for schizophrenia. They have a simulator video for schizophrenia. And so this lady I'm talking about, she actually did a voice over one of those simulators, one of the most popular schizophrenia simulators on YouTube. And she was just comparing her experience as a quote unquote schizophrenic to the simulation. And as she's doing the comparison and I'm looking at the simulation and I'm looking at the things she's saying, I'm like, damn, this girl is targeted. And this simulation is an emulation of the targeted individual program. I said, is schizophrenia even real? And then I found other videos with other targets talking about it, and I realized that there's an actual conspiracy theory out there where some people believe, right, especially people that have been targeted, that schizophrenia is fictitious and doesn't exist. I don't want to say that because I don't have any concrete evidence that that's true. So that's alleged. I mean, that's alleged. Allegedly, it's a fictitious, according to some targets, a fictitious mental illness. I don't know if there is a mental illness out there that is truly like what targets experience, and that the targeted individual program is just meant to emulate that mental illness. Or, like I said, that mental illness doesn't exist at all. I don't know. There's also a video in the description box and comments section, y'all, from Len Burr, right? Len Burr is a very popular, well-known target in the targeted individual community. He works with Targeted Justice and other targets like that are fighting to put a stop to targeting and get justice for targets and freedom for targets, etc. And he linked up with, oh my gosh, my brain is going blank, Robert Duncan, who's one of the main progenitors of the technology used on targets, the microchipping, the nanotechnology, the RFID implantation, right? Where they implant the RFID chip in you and the nanobots, etc. and are able to cross the blood-brain barrier with these little microscopic nano robots, hook up to your nervous system, and basically connect your brain to a computer system. It's called brain-to-computer interface. So once they do that and that connection is made, by the way, y'all, the way that they inject these things is via insect drones. They use mosquitoes, right? So they look like real mosquitoes. A lot of them are. They're taking these insects when they're in the pupa stage and inserting them with little probes where they're actually creating like nano robotic drone like insects, but it's real insects and they look like real insects. So they bite you, you get the nano and or RFID chip inserted in you. It's that simple, and that's how they microchip you. It's scary that it's that simple because you can imagine that this could literally happen to everyone eventually. According to, anyway, let me be careful, y'all. I'm trudging in dangerous territory because they're flying the insect by me now. I'm just saying that's like what's in that video that I found just from doing research with Robert Duncan, who's a Harvard scientist and a doctor, right? He is one of the main progenitors of the technology, and he's now kind of speaking out almost like in a whistleblower type fashion because he doesn't agree with the way that the technology is being used. Like, he's one of those that are pro-transhumanism, and that's what it is when you get microchipped, by the way, y'all. And it's against our consent, by the way. That's what's so inhumane about it, but it's transhumanism, similar to like transgenderism. I think I'm making a word there. Transhumanism is a real word. I don't think transgenderism is. I'm making my own word. But similar to transgender, someone that's a male, for example, that decides to maybe take female hormones and get a sex change, so they're now part female, part male. That's similar to how transhumanism works. Once they insert you with the microchip and the insect drones, etc., you become part human, part machine, part robot. So you're transhuman, right? Same thing as transgender. So he's pro-transhumanism. He's pro the microchipping of humans and the use of the nanobots and the technology, but he's not pro using it on humans that didn't consent. He recognizes that that's inhumane. So he's starting to speak out against it a little bit, and he was in a video with Len Burr, one of, like I said, the more popular targets, where he did this whole interview talking about the technology, some of the agendas behind it, some information about it. And so you could check out that video in the description box and comment section as well, you all. I make sure to always link that video in the description box and comment section because it's coming from the horse's mouth with that. And he's given so much information about the thing. And he himself talks about in that video the fact that this is meant to emulate schizophrenia. So he doesn't necessarily confirm the conspiracy theory that it is schizophrenia and schizophrenia is a fictitious mental illness. What he says verbatim is that it's meant to emulate schizophrenia. So I don't know. That's why I keep going back and forth on whether or not I want to concretely say that I believe that schizophrenia is fictitious, because I don't want to discredit a real mental illness if that mental illness really does exist. But for sure, whether it exists or not, the targeted individual program definitely emulates it for sure. So anyways, this lady was doing the voiceover, and her experience is that of a target's, right down to the birds chirping. She said emergency vehicles following her around. She said whenever she's having, this is what she calls it, because she's truly under the impression that she's schizophrenic. She says whenever she's having an episode, she starts noticing emergency vehicles following her, and she feels like police are after her and this and that. And I was just like, wait a minute. Not really that she's targeted. Like, this is how it works. Like, when you're targeted, you see emergency vehicles, you see helicopters, you see planes. She's one of those that deals with V2K, so she's hearing the voices in her head when she's having a quote-unquote episode. And so I believe with her, the reason that they're targeting her, I don't know, like, what it is that took place with her to lead to them targeting her, but I know they want her on medication because she's married to what would seem like a gang stalker. She's with this guy. She had a baby with him. And I heard him doing noise campaigns on her in one of the videos. Now I'm not talking about that video where she was talking over the simulator and comparing her experience. I'm talking about another video where she was recording herself having a quote-unquote episode. First of all, she had the dark circles under her eyes that I noticed some targets have when the radiation is being used on them, radiation energy weapon. She had the dark circles under her eyes. So it's like, oh shit, she's being hit with the thing. Whenever you get hit with that thing, you start to get the dark circles under your eyes. Michael Barden has it. I had it in 2023 when I strongly suspect that I was hit with the radiation. I documented the whole experience. And that, several targets I've seen that are being hit with the radiation to have the dark circle. She had that going on in that video when she was having this quote-unquote episode. And she said she had stopped taking her medication and that her husband was trying to get her to go to the clinic to take her meds and whatever. And as she's doing the video, I'm hearing slamming outside the door. Like, as she's talking, I saw her look behind her shoulder quick and look paranoid. And it just reminded me kind of when I'm in my room and I'm hearing noise campaigns outside. She was looking really on edge, and it sounded like he was doing noise campaigns on her while she was making the video. Similar to what happens to me when I'm making my videos. And, he was trying to get her to the clinic and to take the meds. And so she said whenever she doesn't take the meds, that's when the quote-unquote targeting is happening. So she's just targeted in general. And it seems like they lay off a little bit when she takes the meds, whatever meds it is they want her to take. So there's always like some sort of, with certain targets, motive behind whatever the targeting is. And then also too, just in general, not specifically talking about any one target, the whole program in general has its own set of agendas. Like I said, that Robert Duncan, one of the progenitors of the technology, mentions in the interview with Len Burr. But anyways, it's just crazy, man. You don't have to commit a crime, really. You could just piss off the wrong person, say the wrong thing, and get targeted. And so, anyways, I'm going off on a tangent, y'all, and I'm not meaning to. What led to me going off on that tangent? Oh, God, let me stop the video again, y'all. Yeah, I'm not going to be doing this every minute. But y'all know recently I've been kind of doing this a lot when I make these videos. Pausing, coming back. And it's not like it causes like a major interruption in a video because the pause in between clips is like a 1 second, if that, pause. So I don't even really have to say that I'm coming back. I could just end the clip abruptly and come back on, but I just don't like doing that. I like to announce that I'm coming off and I'll be back. But anyways, hopefully when I come back on, y'all, I could just finish the video. It's a long one. It's going to be a long one. I'm trying not to let it be a long one. I'm tired. I don't feel like doing too much talking. But I have quite a few things to cover tonight or this morning. So anyways, let me listen to what I said and I'll be back. Anyways, y'all, continuing on with the video. As y'all can see, it's actually now morning time for real, like daytime. I'm home now. So I didn't mean to go off on a tangent, y'all. You know how that is when I start talking. There's so much to this wicked ass program. Like I could go on and on and on for days and days and days about this shit. But I'm not trying to go on for days about it and go off on a tangent. What I was talking about was the gay programming. I started going off on a tangent about the AI and the high science element of the targeting. But I wanted to get back on topic about what I was talking about. So anyways, with that, girl, I'm going to probably create in the future, if the Most High spares my life, a video about that, right? Schizophrenia and the targeted individual link, right? But just know the whole thing is AI. It's a high science, artificial intelligence based program. So everything that they utilize against targets is artificially created. They're using artificial intelligence to malign the target. So you're dealing with microchipping, you're dealing with thought projection, you're dealing with thought manipulation, you're dealing with monitoring via these insect drones, you're dealing with programming via the videos you watch, right? Because this is where I went off on the tangent. I was telling you about the programming and how they use the AI shadow networking software to hack all of your technological devices and send you videos with things in it to sensitize you. So you go on YouTube, if they want to push a certain narrative, like I told y'all in the earlier clips, for instance, if they're pushing that you're gay, or they're pushing that you smell bad, or they're pushing that you're a thief, they can program that into you, right? So all day long, whatever you put on, this is the technological age, right? So it's not like back in the day where people were more so outside doing things in nature for fun. Nowadays, for fun, what do? We go on Facebook, we go on Instagram, we go on TikTok, we go on YouTube, we surf the web. It's the technological age. And no matter what you go on, and no matter what you put on, as a target, they hack everything and they can sensitize you and send... Hold on, y'all. My screen keeps coming off because I have low power mode on. Hold on a second. Yeah, they can push a narrative and they can try to make things your reality. They can frame an individual. Several times they have sent me things about framing people. They sent Martin Luther King, and they've sent other people like that they use this technology on to paint a certain narrative, to warp the image, right, of the person, malign the person, vilify the person, villainize, the person, vilify too. But this is what they do. And if the majority gets involved, even if it's not everyone, they can actually create a false reality for you. Because that saying the majority rules really does matter. It's really an accurate statement. And that's what's used in targeting. They use the majority or the masses, not everyone again, but enough people against this one person to warp the reality of the person and to paint false narratives. This is what they do, and to malign the person. And to sabotage the person. And oftentimes, if somebody hasn't committed a crime or done anything wrong, you just pissed off the wrong person, right? Somebody that has connections with other people. The most I'm going to deal with it, trust me. But anyways, let me continue though. So anyways, trust me, I'm not worrying about it. Anyway, so with the gay programming though, like I said, they've been sending to me for the last 2 years, really, with the shadow networking software, this narrative of things in the dark coming to light and things being hidden and lust and people that are gay and people that are on the down low, and just constantly sending that false narrative. And then in person, I'm dealing with actual sensitization and doing creepy, weird, freaky things with children, bringing children around in short pants. Thank God they're not doing that anymore. I remember when they were doing that. They still do it sometimes, not as often, because they done talked about it in these videos and how weird and creepy that is. So they don't do that as much anymore, but they'll purposely bring their children around me, or you'll have females that are older coming around in little short, skimpy outfits, just trying to be seen on camera, really having a thirsty moment, but they'll make it seem like it's for me, coming around with these little short stuff on, with their stuff hanging out, right, as a way to sensitize me because of that moment. And I made a video about this that happened with my niece when I was in Florida, when I was being traumatized, antagonized, and a smear campaign was being used against me, right? Remember, I tried to relocate. You got to listen to my story. Off island in 2022. The targeting followed me. I ended up coming back to the island I tried to relocate off of. But before I came back, I had stopped in Florida and I was living in my vehicle. My sister and my nieces lived there. The niece that was involved in the false narrative that was created from the text message. So when I was staying in my car in Florida, They were using the AI shadow networking software on me, and I didn't know that that's what was being used. So everything I was putting on, I'm sitting in my car, I'm just trying to watch videos on YouTube. Mind you, they're all watching me on these cameras like a fucking freak show, right? Every freaking shit that I put on had things about lust in it and predators and things in the dark coming to light and drunkenness and all these nasty ass smear campaign narratives. So I didn't know at the time, again, that this technology existed. So for me, it just felt like some sort of witchcraft. That's why I said what I said in my video that came across as me bearing false witness again. I truly believed that someone had done witchcraft on me because I know I didn't do anything. But yet I keep getting this freaking weird message with the technology about predators and things in the dark coming to light. And of course, the gang stalkers around watching are hopping on the fact that this narrative kept being sent to me no matter what I put on. Like, I'll go on Facebook, there's an ad about staying safe from sexual abuse. I go on YouTube, they're sending a video about a predator that was caught. I turn on the radio, they're talking about a predator that was caught in the mall. You know, and so it would seem like, if you didn't know about this technology, this was some sort of spiritual intervention from the Most High. And then they also kept sending things about things in the dark coming to light, angels watching, things of that nature, when it was really just wicked ass technology being utilized on me, right? And they're using it to paint a false narrative to malign me because they thought I was a bad person because of what happened in Indiana on the Greyhound bus, which was also reactive abuse and a reaction to me realizing this thing followed me. I also had an incident with a police officer. The targeting took a racial turn in Indiana before I even got down to Florida. I had the people in my close circle calling me every 5 seconds, warning me about Indiana and the fact that it's a sundown state and it's a predominantly white state and you need to be careful and, you know, you better make sure you're parked up before 6 o'clock or you might end up hanging from a tree, and saying comments like that while all these people around are hearing the comments that are being said, and I'm hearing Ref campaign in the background when they're telling me these things on the phone too, you know. And so I slowly but surely started noticing the targeting taking a racial turn. They kept sending like white and black people holding hands walking across the road. They started to just a lot of weird stuff, activity with the targeting that started taking, like I said, a racial turn. And then eventually they inserted a police officer, and that incident with the police officer happened. Let me go over to YouTube to show you the video. You can watch to hear about that. This video, part 5 example of the shadow networking AI software, and you see the black girl, and I purposely showed black and white because this was the narrative that was being spun. The black girl being handcuffed by the white officer, and it's like a drawing as the thumbnail. You can check out that video to hear the what took place with that police officer. And that's when, after that incident with that police officer, that was when I started noticing the helicopters. That was when I started noticing the emergency vehicles, police cars following me, ambulances following me. Before, it was just what seemed like civilian retribution and me being stalked on the road by thousands and thousands of random ass people gang stalking in vehicles. It turned into like the true targeted experience where I'm seeing helicopters and emergency vehicles after I had the incident with that police officer. And again, it took a racial spin because he was a white officer. And so what started happening is, as theater, they started setting up these fake arrests, and it would always be this white officer arresting this black person, and the black person would be spewing some sort of racial propaganda about BLM or, stuff like that. And looking at me, they're looking over at me for a reaction. I used to just be laughing inside my head. At the time, I didn't even know what a target was. I didn't even know that's what that was, or that was theater. But I knew that they were obviously setting up these scenarios, and I thought it was hilarious. Anyways, y'all. So long story short, I ended up down in Florida before I came home, and I got angry because I was putting on Hebrew Israelite videos because that's how I was raised in my household, to be Hebrew, right? So that was my understanding of what truth was, or protection was, spiritual protection. And so this is what I was doing. I was genuinely looking for protection from the Most High, and that was my understanding at the time. So I started putting on Hebrew Israelite videos, nothing offensive, just videos about spiritual protection from spiritual attacks. And as I'm putting on these videos, they were using the shadow networking AI software to put the nasty poison ass false narrative in it. So every freaking thing I put on had the narrative about things in the darkness coming to light, and lust and drunkenness and sexual this and that, and everything I put on. It did not matter what I put on. And so then I started getting mad, because it started revving in the background whenever these things would come on. And I knew they were all watching me. They were all on top of me. And I was having these anxious PTSD reactions. And I would start breathing funny and getting real anxious and just horrible. And they were just running with a bunch of them in the road, just revving by and coming in by my car and throwing stuff on my roof. I got real skinny. I almost died, y'all. I was so skinny from what happened to me. I wasn't even going in the store to get food after a while. I wasn't going to wash my ass. I was staying in that car for days and days and days, right? I almost lost my life there. And I'm calling the people in my close circle, the gaslighting, acting like they don't know what's going on, watching me on these cameras dying in my vehicle. That's what was happening, right? So anyways, eventually, I ended up going back home, thank the Most High, pulling me up out of that situation, right? But before that happened, I went over to my sister's house to wash my behind because it had been about a week since I had bathed. I was laying in my car emaciated and not bathing. So I went over there and I fell asleep on the carpet in front of my brother-in-law. I'm sick, y'all. I'm skinny. Literally on my way out. There's no way my libido was up. I wasn't even feeling slightly horny, right? I fall asleep in front of my brother-in-law on the carpet and I wake up humping the floor, having some weird sexual dream. I fell asleep in front of this man so many times before. I used to live with him and my sister for years before they were even married. Never had a moment like that. All of a sudden, this weird shit is happening. They're using the technology on me. I'm having weird sexual dreams all of a sudden in front of my brother-in-law, right? I'm sitting in the vehicle. All of a sudden, my private parts are twitching, and not in a sexual way either. Not like I'm sitting there horny with all these people staring at me and revving by, and I'm dying and skinny in my vehicle. No, my private parts were twitching because I was traumatized and I think they were using technology on me. And so it just turned into this weird traumatizing thing to the point where even now I always put sweaters over my lap because I'm so afraid that area is going to twitch. Here's the real T. That's a TMI, right? I'm so traumatized from what happened to me in Florida. I can't sit anywhere without putting a sweater or something over my lap because I'm afraid I'm going to start twitching. Isn't that weird and creepy and crazy and nasty? That's what I've been through, right? And way more too. So anyways, so this day after that whole debacle there where I had that moment in front of my brother-in-law, my sister came out and I know she had this weird attitude. And I eventually just left because I felt embarrassed about the situation, right? I still slept the night and then I left and I didn't come back for days again. So when I finally did come back to her house, I remember it seems like they set this up. I don't know. I don't want to bear false witness, but I helped raise my niece and we never let her wear certain things. Like she's not going to be wearing a little short ass pants with her behind hanging out. That's just not how we let her dress. We don't even dress that way. As when we were grown to respect our bodies, right? So I helped raise her, and I know my sister would never let her wear pants like that. It's just so weird. She comes out, and I'm already traumatized, like I said. This has been now weeks and weeks and weeks, months at this point, of them sensitizing me with the shadow networking software, sending the false narrative, right, about the child thing, and the narrative about children and predators and pedophiles and nasty, weird fucking shit. Right? So then I go over to, like I said, the house this day. This is a different day to the day where I had the weird sexual dream in front of my brother-in-law. I'm sitting on the couch with my sister and I'm actually dreading my nieces and nephews coming out. I'm terrified of them at this point. That's so crazy, right? Grew up around them, helped raise them. Not grew up around them, they grew up around me. And I helped raise my oldest niece for a good number of years. I helped raise her. Never had any weird, creepy stuff going on. The weirdest thing that ever happened as far as my niece goes was something with my younger brother that I documented that happened years ago. And I felt so guilty and bad for thinking what I thought, but it was the way that the thing looked and I just felt like I needed to say something. I made a video about that too. You could check it out. I believe this my plea for help as a targeted individual video where I documented that, right? And in the thumbnail, you can see me there with my head wrapped up, right? And I'm looking down. Because I do believe a grudge was held against me from then too. I just think a lot to this. I think for years I wasn't liked and I didn't realize it. You start looking back when certain things happen. You're like, how could they do this? What this? All of this? And you start looking back and you start realizing, oh shit, maybe all this time there was a problem with me and I didn't realize it. I was so blind to what was going on. And then now it just seems like this boom surprise betrayal type thing. But the whole time it was something brewing and I didn't realize it. not being cognizant of my surroundings or aware, of what's going on. So anyways, y'all. Anyways, I really don't know. I can't really say what would have caused this. I can't really say. It doesn't make sense to me. None of it does. Hold on, y'all. Let me finish in a minute. Y'all, I'm back. Actually, let me make this clip real quick, and then I'll start another clip to continue on with the video. I'm going to put this clip before the last clip that you just heard. So you're going to be, actually, not you just heard. When I put the videos together, you're going to be hearing this clip before the next clip. So actually, in the next clip, you all are going to hear me talking about this weight gain that I've had and how it's been causing an issue with the wardrobe that I have. I need to change my wardrobe because I've gained weight. But I accidentally said that my typical weight is 180, and I meant to say 160. Anywhere from 160 to 165. At least now that I'm a woman. In my early 20s and high school, from high school all the way up to, I want to say, my mid-20s, I used to stay at 150 to 155. And as I started getting into my later 20s, I got all the way up to 160. The most I've ever weighed was, prior to actually trying to gain weight, was 165. And I was really maxing out then. That was when I was teaching. This was like 2 years ago before I tried to relocate off island. I was teaching. I was working the night shift. I was eating a bunch of junk food. My targeting, although it was amping up, it wasn't what it is now. So I felt more comfortable eating out. I was eating a lot of junk back then, I remember, and I wasn't working out at that time. That was one of my off times. So I got all the way up to 165 and then plateaued at 165. I've never gotten more than that. But now that I'm actually making a conscious effort to gain weight and I'm bulking up and I'm working out excessively, etc., I've, like I said in the next clip, gotten all the way up to 187. But my typical weight is 160, right? And so the underwear that I have, and the clothes, the wardrobe that I have is that of a 160-pound female. So I need to get new stuff. And I did, actually. After, I heard some directed convo about my underwear several times. It's humiliating. I was like, I need to stop buying frivolous things and I need to get the things I need to get. And also I've been saving up to get a car and stuff, which is something else I'm about to talk about, y'all. But I actually went to the store on, I think it was Friday. I went straight to the store. I bought a bunch of underwear. I bought a new bra, and so I shouldn't be having an issue anymore with things fitting me. Now I just need to clear up whatever was created from getting that friction and that cut on both sides of my grind. You're going to hear me talking about it more in the next clip, y'all. You're going to know what I'm talking about, and how it's created some sort of another form of humiliation in the targeting. Anyways, yeah, so that's what you're going to hear in the next clip. I just wanted to clear that up. So anyways, y'all, before I continue on with the story about my niece, right, because there's a video where I documented the whole thing, and they knocked it down 3 times because they knew it made sense and that it refuted the false narrative. They wanted to run with that little tidbit of quote-unquote evidence. It's not evidence, and they know it's not. That's the only thing they had that seemed even slightly relevant, and it doesn't. It's bullshit. And I knocked it down in that video. I'm going to show you the video you can check out to hear me knocking it down. They made it so that I couldn't post a video. I had to try 3 different times to get that video posted, right? But before I go to that, let me go to something talking about, just showing you an example of how efficient and high science this technology is. It can do things with your body, y'all. Let me show y'all. There's a special focus on the genital area, right? So all of a sudden, this technology is being used on me in Florida. All these weird things are happening. This is where the dream started. This is where I'm sitting there. My private part is twitching and I had to cover myself. Was when they started using the technology on me. Remember, I was targeted for 2 years before I tried to relocate off island. They were watching me on camera. None of that was happening. All of a sudden, I get to Florida. I share the Hebrew Israelite propaganda out of anger, right? Because they were using the shadow networking software on me. One of the many elements of the technology, as I mentioned in the prior clips. All of a sudden, my private parts are twitching. I have to cover myself with a sweater. I go over to my sister's house. I'm sleeping in front of my brother-in-law on death's door, basically. I was so skinny. And all of a sudden, I'm having this weird sexual dream. Let me show y'all something. The cap says, Y'all, this video is titled Diagram of Neuromonitoring Effects on Targeted Individuals. This is one of the many videos that I have linked in the description box and comment section that shares info about the technology used on targets. This diagram was released from DARPA, the organization or the main entity that controls the technology, right? This was released at a Freedom of Speech press conference. Let's just take a look at some of the things that the technology can do. I'm going to get to the main point in a minute. I don't want this video to be too long, so let me try to hurry through, right? Notice they have an arrow pointing to her vajayjay, right? So forced memory blanking and induced erroneous actions. So they can blank out your memory and they can induce erroneous actions. Mind you, that hasn't happened to me, thank the Most High, but there are other targets that have said that things of that nature have happened. I don't, it's real scary stuff. They can literally control your body like a remote control with the tech. So induced erroneous actions. They can cause you, they can control you like a remote control, in other words. Induced changes to hearing, both apparent direction and volume, and sometimes even content. So they can change what you hear. Like first of all, and that's going to be on the right side of the diagram when I get over there. Well, technically it's the left side, right? Because the diagram, the way I'm looking at it, it would be my right side, but the female that's on the picture, her left side. And then when I get over to that side of the picture, you're going to see ear tinnitus or ear ringing because they use something that's called, I don't know what the technology is called, but it's identified as Havana syndrome. And that technology can cause a hum or a ring in your ears. And so that's called ear tinnitus. So that's where, it's saying it can change the hearing in both ears. It's happened to me numerous times. Anytime I'm writing a poem, doing my poetry, they start humming on me. It messes with my throat. It sometimes causes shortness of breath. It makes my ears go in and out. Like I can't even hear the beat good. And when it says content, change of content, I think they're referencing V2K, which is also another form of technology. Thank the Most I haven't dealt with that to my knowledge. Form of technology they can use on targets to control the voices in your head. They can actually make you feel like you're schizophrenic or crazy. Remember what I was talking about earlier, that this program emulates schizophrenia. So they can put voices in your head and make you feel like you're hearing voices and like you're crazy. And if you don't learn about this program and the high science efficiency of it, you would think you're crazy. Like that chick I was talking about earlier that thinks she has schizophrenic episodes. I've seen other targets that know about the technology and they know it's V2K. I haven't dealt with that again, thank the Most High. Another thing, sudden violent itching inside eyelids. I haven't dealt with itching in my eyelids, thank the Most High, but they can make your body itch, all kinds of stuff, weird stuff. I haven't dealt with that though. I have had an embarrassing thing, just everyday woman stuff, and it's like I'm on cameras and every freaking moment is being projected, so it's like you can be bullied for simple things like a yeast infection that all females get. It wasn't a yeast infection, by the way, y'all, but I'm just saying that's an example. That's something that all women get in their lifetime, and you as a target, you're embarrassed because they're all watching you. They keep painting false narratives and trying to bully you, right? So if you do get a yeast infection, you don't even want to deal with the thing. You want to just leave it there and pray it goes away. Like that's the level of torture with this thing, right? And the lack of privacy. Recently, it wasn't a yeast infection. I have had one of those before, though. It's been a very long time. What happened is, not this time because I had my period this time. The last time when I had my period, I don't have much clothes, y'all. I heard references about the underwear I'm wearing too. Just stuff like that. Like they're actually in my private space seeing everything. It's so humiliating. But I used to have a very vast wardrobe full of clothes. I used to like to dress nice. I have pictures I can show you. I used to wear heels. I used to wear nice clothes when I was a teacher. I gave it all away in Tennessee. That same thing that I'm talking about now when I tried to relocate off island in 2022. On that whole saga, that trip through the states, right? Through the east side, you could say, and the south side of America, right? That little trek that I took. A lot of things happened on that trek. And one of the things that happened was when I was coming back down from Indiana, when I realized the targeting had followed me. I didn't know I was a target again, y'all, but whatever the weird thing was had followed me, and started blowing up. Because I wanted to travel light, and I didn't know in my head what I was going to do. In my head, I was like, maybe I can run away. Not realizing that this thing, once they have it on you and they have the technology on you, there's no running away from it. But in my mind, I was thinking fast, like maybe there's somewhere I could run away and get away. I need to travel light. I gave all my stuff away in Tennessee, like 2 big, huge suitcases full of clothes, all of my nice clothes, my heels, my underwear, my bra, all of that. I had nice panties, nice bras, etc. I gave it all away, right, in the process of being targeted. So when I got back on the island, of course, I started working eventually. I started doing security here and there, but I never really re-upped the stuff that I lost. Like, I have raggy ass panties. I had raggy ass panties. Some of them were too small. Remember, I've gained a lot of weight too now, y'all. I'm weighing more than I've ever weighed in my entire life due to bodybuilding and bulking up. So I'm 188 now. My normal body weight is typically 180. I'm a very skinny girl. Not skinny, not like, I don't want you to get the wrong idea. Not like blow away in the wind type skinny, but like I'm usually a very lean, petite type of female. That's just my genetics. And so I have to force it to gain weight. So my underwear, the ones that I did have, were not fitting me well, or they're, loose and just a bunch of just terrible stuff, man. I don't even have clothes to wear. When I go out to the store, I'm putting on workout clothes because that's the main stuff that I've bought recently now that I have money is workout clothes. So I made a note to myself, I need to buy clothes and I need to really get myself back together. But anyways, last time I had my period, I put on a panty that was too small for me. All my underwear were dirty. Couldn't get to the laundry that day. And so my stupid ass, I'm working 2 jobs now, y'all. I'm working a whole 9-hour shift during the daytime. And then at night, I'm working an 8-hour shift. I wore this tight panty that was cutting into my flesh for 9 hours straight with the pad on. And I'm sorry that this is a TMI, but I want you to understand what led to the situation that was created from this stupid decision. So for 9 hours straight, I'm wearing that thing. I got home and the thing was cutting into my groin on both sides. I was bleeding. I had to peel the panty out of my groin. I'm sure they saw all of that because I have no privacy. So I threw the bloody panty in the garbage, right, in the bathroom. And I had a cut on both sides of my groin after that. A few days later, the cut started itching on both sides. It's so humiliating, but this is what started happening. Now, mind you, I'm hearing hammering, one of the freaking weird people that's staring at me that has mental health issues. Anyway, so a few days later, it starts itching. Now, mind you, because we're going to make some points here about how long they've been watching me and what they've seen from what they haven't seen. They've been watching me for about 3 years now, right? Before I even left Ireland and tried to relocate. Remember, for a whole year, I was aware of cameras being on me. That was eventually what led to me trying to relocate. I was like, okay, they're taking this thing way too far. For 3 years, they've been watching me. They've never seen me have a yeast infection. They've never seen me have an itch. They've never seen anything. I'm very clean and anal because I'm a germaphobe. I brush my teeth excessively. I bathe excessively. I cuss out the people in my house whenever they shit and they don't scrub the toilet out. I'm that type of anal, right? So anyways, they have not seen since they've been watching me for these whole 3 years. I want to say 2 because the targeting went viral about 2 years ago. So more people were watching about 2 years ago. But the people that's been watching me since way before then, they know full well they've never seen me have an itch. They've never seen me have a yeast infection, none of those things, even though yeast infections are normal and it has nothing to do with hygiene and rather everything to do with pH balance. You can get a yeast infection from eating too much donuts. You can get a yeast infection from eating too much sugar, yeast. It has nothing to do with hygiene and everything to do with your diet. That's why when you have a yeast infection, the doctor tells you to drink cranberry juice, preferably organic, and eat yogurt that has probiotics in it, right? But anyway, it wasn't a yeast infection, but I'm just saying, giving an example if I did have one, right? That's not what it is. I believe it caused some sort of infection. I think the area where the cut on both sides happened got infected. I think my period blood, this is a TMI and it's nasty, but it's what happened. I believe the period blood got in the cuts, in the wound, and I believe that's what created whatever started happening. But anyway, as long as they've been having them watching me, they've never seen me have an itch or anything of that nature. I'm very clean and anal. So now for the first time, just like what they're running with this other thing that I'm about to talk about too, for the first time, for the whole 3 years they've been watching me, I'm having a human moment and something happens that caused an itch in that area, right? And I had to take care of it as a woman. I went and I got some Vagisil, right? And I cleaned myself, and I'm actually about to start using cast style soap again too, because another issue is, and that's typically not something that causes itching for me, but some women are sensitive in that area, and really that's a very sensitive area to begin with. That's like an opening to your body. You understand? Like, it's just similar to your mouth. It's a very intimate location, right? And so you don't want to put just anything there because it's entering into your body. And so a lot of people, a lot of females use like soaps, right, that have fragrances, or even if you feel like you're using the ivory soap that supposedly doesn't have fragrances or is delicate for the skin, these soaps still have chemicals in it that's not good for that area and that can throw the pH balance off. So you should be trying to use something natural to clean down there. Some women only use water, right? For me, I want to use stuff down there that, some sort of boost to how clean it, not just straight water. But you should use natural things. And so, like the health food store sells cast-out soap. And cast-out soap is an antibacterial. It's an antimicrobial. It's an antifungal. Right? It's anti-fungus. So those type of soaps clean you down there, and it's not throwing off the pH balance. So for me, what I have going on, I don't need to be using regular bar soap that has fragrances, and I know better too. The deodorant I use doesn't have aluminum in it. I use natural deodorant that doesn't have the parabens and doesn't have the aluminum in it because it blocks up the lymph ducts. I use toothpaste that doesn't have fluoride in it because it gets in your bloodstream and it calcifies the pineal gland. Like, I'm very anal about what I use on and in my body. Anyway, so now that this thing is happening, right, whatever was created, right, it started this little weird situation down there. Again, for the first time in 3 years, they've seen some activity down there. They haven't seen anything like that before this. But of course, now they can use that to propel the narrative of me smelling stink or me this and that or me being nasty. When it's a lie, they just don't like me, right? I smell very good. So anyways, that's what happened though. It created like this itch and I didn't want to deal with it. Like for 2 weeks straight, I was feeling it down there. And it's just like I kept making comments about it because I knew I had to deal with it and they were watching and I just know how they are. I knew they were going to run with it. I kept making comments about it like, damn, I really got to deal with this thing, man. I was like, shit, that thing that happened with the cut, I know they saw when the panty cut me. I'm having an issue down there. I need to deal with it, but I just know how they are. God, I don't want to deal with this thing. Eventually, I just said, fuck it. Excuse my language. And I went and I got the Vagisil and I put it on the area. It cleared up. It got better immediately. Now I have my period again this time. Same thing happened. I wore a panty that cut into my crevice. It didn't make me bleed this time. I actually made a comment about it. I took it off in the morning. I'm purposely doing things as it's happening because I know they're watching and I feel like I have to explain everything or they're going to run with stuff. I said, are you kidding me? Maybe the thing never went away and it felt like it did because now I'm wearing this panty that cut into me last night at work. And now this morning I'm feeling irritation in the area. I said, I hope it doesn't turn into the thing again. Do you know now literally 2 days later, I'm noticing irritation in the same area and that similar feeling that I was feeling when I initially used the Vagisil. I never used the whole thing, by the way. I only used it for like 2 or 3 days. You're supposed to use it for the full 7 days. I don't like using things that are foreign on my body that's not natural. So I used it for about 2 or 3 days instead of the full recommended 7 days. So anyway, I had to start putting the thing on again. This is like day 2 of me putting it on, and it feels like it's getting better. Mind you, too, I haven't been to the OBGYN in 2 years. I'm very particular about my body. I'm the kind that keeps up with the doctors, and I get regular checkups with the doctor. Prior to my targeting going viral, I went to the OBGYN right before my thing went viral. It was either 2022 or 2021. I was targeted, but it hadn't gone viral yet. I have an OBGYN down here. I don't even know if I could call her my OBGYN anymore because I haven't been to her in about 2 years since the targeting went viral. Every year I used to go to her for a regular checkup and everything was always just fine. Everything was always just fine. So I haven't had a regular checkup in a while either. So it's not even to say like I could go to her and say, hey, this is happening. What do you recommend? It's just like, it's just so uncomfortable and awkward to deal with. Anyway, so I know what to do. I'm into natural health and I know how to heal myself. I need to get to the health store. I need to get cast out soap and I need to stop using these soaps that have the parabens and the fragrances and stuff in it since I'm dealing with this situation now. But this is the first time I've ever dealt with anything like this. It's not even the inside, excuse me for the TMI. It's not even the inside of the part that's itching. It's nowhere near my actual opening. Excuse me, I know this is vulgar and a TMI, but they're all in my business anyway and creating stuff. It's literally in the groin area, kind of like jock itch or athlete itch. It's in the groin area is where it's happening. And again, it's not a consistent thing. It happened the last time I had my period. And not the last time, the time before last, because I just had a period again, y'all, is what I'm telling you, and it started again. So it happened the time before last when I had my period. I cleared it up, and then it started again this time when I wore a panty that was too tight again, right? So I'm realizing my pH balance is likely off. First of all, I've been eating a lot of junk recently. I've been eating a lot of donuts. I've been eating a lot of ice cream. I've been eating a lot of cookies, pie, KFC, nasty shit that I shouldn't be eating. But I'm trying to gain weight. First of all, I'm not trying to do it the unhealthy way, but also dealing with the things I'm dealing with. And to me, it's almost like it makes me feel better when I eat those things. If I had a long day, if I go and I get a cookie or I get a cake or I get a pie or a donut or something, it makes me feel better. So I like eating those things, but it's like it's turning into this thing where I'm eating it too much. It was supposed to be like, okay, just today I'll let myself cheat. And then it started turning into, okay, just these 2 days. And then it turned into the whole week. And then I bought a box of donuts and then I was eating 2 donuts a day and it started getting real bad. My skin is even breaking out. So I believe my pH balance is off. Anyway, so that's, that's not, I didn't mean to go off on a tangent, y'all. It's just targeted individual shit where you don't have privacy. False narratives are being created about you. You're being judged constantly. And you feel like, oh shit, this is happening. I can't deal with it. I don't want them to see. Like I'm having a regular woman issue, like a yeast infection. Again, it's not a yeast infection, but like a yeast infection. And I don't want them to see because they're going to say I'm being nasty because I'm having a yeast infection. Even though that has nothing to do with hygiene and everything to do with pH if you actually educate yourself and learn about these things. Anyway, y'all, let me come back and finish the video because I have so much to talk about. Anyway, I went off on a tangent. Before I come back, let me continue with what I was saying. Because I ended up going off on a tangent because I'm talking about the genital area and I'm dealing with that right now. But so look at the diagram, y'all. Look at what it can do. So I was telling you that's how I went off on that tangent because it said sudden violent itching in eyelids. Because even with the technology, they like to roast me through the technology. It's a humiliation campaign. They started sending things about when you're trying to get that itch. And they had a key, somebody with a key itching. And the narrative with the key. It's just a real clown show with this thing, And it's like, they don't understand this is somebody's life you're playing with. Yeah, it's haha for you. But this is my day-to-day life. And it's horrible. So anyways, you're going to get dealt with. Keep hammering. The most I'm going to deal with you. I'm talking about one of the gang stalkers in the background there. Anyway, forced manipulation of airways, including externally controlled forced speech. So they can control the things you say. That has not happened for me. Again, that's not been my experience. But this is coming from the horse's mouth. This diagram is from DARPA. They can control you like a freaking remote control car with this technology. There was a target, he was saying some scary stuff that happened to him, where him walking in the road or something like that. Yeah, I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to give ideas and I don't think they would take it that far, but so it just scares me to think about. But he was saying he was walking in the road like he was going to walk in front of a car and he had to catch himself. And he said, why am I doing this? So like they can control you with this technology. It's some scary stuff. That's why when I found that out it was like the end of 2023 or the beginning of 2024, I was scared when I saw that video. I made this video saying like, I would never harm myself. So if you see that happening, it's not me, But I don't think they would take it that far. I've been dealing with a lot of stuff in the targeting. I don't think they would take it that far, but they could if they wanted to. That's how high science and advanced this thing is, right? So anyways, wildly racing heart without cause. Oh yeah, I've dealt with that many times before. And I definitely do suspect that there have been times when they've done it. I do suspect that. And they've even kind of insinuated it with noise campaign and the insect drones. But they can make it feel like you're about to have a heart attack. That's what you would think, right? That's the instant thought. You're going to think heart attack when your heart starts racing. But a way to realize that it's not a heart attack is if you look up, the symptoms of a heart attack and what actually happens in a heart attack or the process of a heart attack. What's going on with a heart attack is that there's a blockage in the blood vessel. So your heart's not going to race when you're having a heart attack. It's actually going to slow down and it's going to be these distant beats, right? So it's going to be these off, kind of like an arrhythmia. Like, right? So it's going to be like the heartbeat is off and it's having trouble beating. It's not going to be speeding up. Now cardiac arrest, you might get a little speed up with the heart, but not with a heart attack. Your heart is actually having trouble beating and pumping the blood. So already if your heart's racing, no, it's not a heart attack. Rest assured. I learned this years ago when I was learning about natural health and stuff. That was one of the things that used to help me calm down when I was having an anxiety attack, because what it's actually doing is emulating an anxiety attack. Because when you're having an anxiety attack, your heart starts racing it's beating similar to like what they could do with the tech. And so you feel like you're about to die and instantly your mind thinks heart attack. Is this a heart attack? But if you look it up, a heart attack is actually the opposite. Your heart slows down and it's having trouble beating. So this is what I used to use in my head back in the day when I was having anxiety to calm myself down. Like, this ain't a heart attack. Your heart's good, girl. It's beating fast. So you're good to go. Calm down, relax, breathe, put your feet in the grass, slow down, relax. And the reason I said put your feet in the grass is because there's an electrical charge that comes from the earth, right? There's something called earthing. You can look it up. I'm not trying to go off on a tangent. I'm into natural health, so I know about a lot of stuff. But like, if this is why they say that there's a lot of, health problems in this day and age, because we wear shoes. We don't go outside like that anymore like we used to. And there's a connection between humans and the earth. The Most High actually made the earth for us. And so even through the foods we eat, etc., all of these things are connected. And so if you're not going outside and putting your feet in the grass or in the earth at least once in a while, you start to lose that connection with the earth, and there's actually a change in your body. It oxidates your body when you step on the earth. And it also sends some sort of electromagnetic field through the body that regulates things, and it's good for circulation, blood circulation, etc. And so I learned about these things years ago. So when I was having an anxiety attack, I would think, first of all, this is not a heart attack. Your heart's racing, you're good to go. Go stand in the grass, breathe, relax. Go stand outside and put my feet in the grass. I feel better right away. Sometimes I'll make tea. I'll throw some cayenne pepper in the tea, right? I'll make some hot water with some cayenne pepper and some turmeric, and I'll put a little bit of oil in there. And I know I'm good too, because even if, God forbid, it were a heart attack, those things can stop a heart attack and remove the blockage. Just little things I learned years ago that used to help me. But anyway, so the racing heart thing, they can emulate an anxiety attack, and you might think heart attack or like you're about to drop. Like, that's what it feels like. It's so scary. The next thing, remotely induced violent, no rash itching with preference for hard to reach areas, often during delicate or messy work, also described as shocks. I've heard about that. I haven't experienced it. Where you like excessive itching. I'm gonna keep it real. I don't think that's what's going on with me. Like, I know what caused my thing. It was the tight panty that I wore, and it was during my period. So I'm always real when I think they're doing something, and when I think it's a genuine thing that's happening in my life. I don't think it has anything to do with them. And so I haven't experienced that. Another thing is forced nudging of arm during delicate or messy work, causing injury or spill. So like, let's say you're like, if they're really playing with you like a remote control, I told you some targets have it bad. I haven't dealt with any of these things. If they want to play with you like a remote control and have a fun day with you, you might be at work grabbing coffee and they might do something to make your arm twitch and the coffee fall on the floor. They can do that with this technology. It's high science, y'all. Anyway, the next thing, this is what I put the diagram on for. Special attention to central area, itching, forced orgasm, intense pain, hot needles. This is pointing to the private parts. You saw what it said there? Forced orgasm. I know that's a TMI, but again, this is reminiscent of what happened when I was laying on the floor, skinny and emaciated, with my libido as low as could be, in front of my brother-in-law, and then I have this weird dream. So yeah, understand that. And then also to sitting in the car and the thing twitching. All of a sudden, for 2 years, they've been watching me. All of a sudden, I'm sitting in the vehicle. I'm sharing the Hebrew Israelite propaganda. They're getting pissed with me. They already think I'm a bad person because of what took place in Indiana, right? You have to listen to my story. All of a sudden, my private parts are twitching. Not in a sexual way, just twitching. And they're revving by every time it happens. So I have to cover myself, start covering my private parts. Just weird stuff that started happening with my body. Physical changes when they started using this technology on me. Anyway, so understand there's a intense focus on the genital area with the targeting. I'm not going to read everything. That was mainly what I put the video on for. But just understand there's one more thing that I wanted to come over, right? And read to you. Reading and broadcasting thoughts. Kids asking mommy, how can that lady talk with her mouth closed, can occur. Because somehow they have the technology when you're around in public to broadcast your thoughts. It's brain to computer interface and brain to brain interface. Somehow, I don't still quite understand how this works. I don't know if it's somehow V2K mixed with thought projection, where they're taking your thoughts and then using V2K and other people around you in their heads to let them hear your thoughts in real time. It's literally telepathy. I don't know how they do it. I before was wondering, is everyone microchipped? Is that how they're hearing my thoughts? I don't know if that's what's going on, or if it's that I know for sure I'm microchipped. If somehow they're projecting my thoughts and using V2K to put it in the heads of those around. But the people around you can hear your thoughts as clear as day. That's why a child who doesn't understand what's going on might hear your thoughts and your mouth isn't moving, but they're hearing your thoughts. And so that's why they say, Mommy, how's that person talking with their mouth closed? You know, crazy, weird stuff, y'all. I'm telling you, high science technology. This is a sign of the times that we're in. I'm not trying to sound like that doomsday person, but this is some weird stuff and everybody seems to be okay with it. The fact that you could easily get microchip with a mosquito bite is really a red flag to me. Like, literally everyone pretty soon will likely be microchipped. This is kind of what Robert Duncan was saying in that video with Len Burr that I mentioned earlier. Anyway, the next thing is vivid, controlled dreams. I have 7 dream manipulation videos. They can control your dreams. They can interact with you in your dreams. They can send you vivid dreams. That's why I said they could frame you if they wanted to. All these weird dreams I started having all of a sudden. This dream recently about my coworker, it's embarrassing, that I had recently, right? She's a female. This is the first dream I've had about a female. It's typically about men or weird other stuff like that. It's never been about a female. This is the first time this whole activity with this coworker is embarrassing. It's weird. And it's the first time in 2 years that they've had any type of interaction with a female in my brain. It's been men that I've been daydreaming about. It's to the point where in 2023, it wasn't 2023, was it last year? No, it was 2023. In 2023, June of 2023, when they started revealing to me that they were listening to my thoughts, they were in my head swimming around, listening to my thoughts. I didn't even know they were in there. They didn't see anything about children, and they damn sure didn't see anything about women. I was daydreaming about men. And actually what was happening when they revealed to me that they were listening to my thoughts was that I was daydreaming about, like I said, this Hispanic guy that I had a crush on. And it was humiliating because I went to play my pool game and they played against me on the pool game with his name. And it's a unique Hispanic name. So I was like, wait a minute, what? You know, at this time I had just started learning about the technology too and learning about the things that it could do. So I was like, wait a minute, there's no way they're doing this to me. You know, I'm like, there's no way they took it this far. Do they have that down here? You know, when I saw certain elements of the technology, I was just like, nah, I didn't even believe it. Much less to think that they would have access to those things down here. I just was like, nah. When they sent me this dude's name on the pool game, I made a video instantly about it because I was like, oh shit. So they said all the daydream I was having about him. It was so embarrassing. And so I'm just like, that's just evidence enough. You were in my head for however long. I know they heard my thoughts. I know they know I'm innocent. That's first of all. But second of all, you know I was daydreaming about men. For these last 2 years, every daydream I've had has been about men. And then now randomly, this one female, 2 years in to you listening to my thoughts, this one female at the job, you're having some sort of activity in my brain. I had a dream. You probably sent it. But whatever the case is, how are you going to run with that and try to use that to validate the false narrative from the text message that I clearly cleared up? Before I even came home, there were things happening in Airbnbs for a half a year that resembled what I said in the text message to people in my close circle. There were no children involved then. So how is it that it warped and turned into something that involves children? Just because when I sent the text, I was in the room with my niece? Something I've done for years and years and years? I'm sure they've interviewed her. My niece is very smart. She's not a stupid muppy. She's very smart. I'm sure she's clearly told them that I've never done anything to her. So it's just them trying to be spiteful and nasty and push a false narrative because they don't like me. So anyways, with this vivid dream though, with this thing with my coworker, they're trying to run with that shit now. They're running with it. Even if I were gay, right? Which I'm not, I like men, right? But even if I did have an attraction to this coworker, that doesn't validate you saying that I did something to a child. Are you trying to say that gay people molest children? Is that what it is? As soon as you're gay, that means you like children? Like, that doesn't even make sense. It's not even adding up. It still doesn't take away from the refutation of my prior videos where I refuted that stupid ass text. So even if there were some sort of attraction to this coworker, that doesn't validate anything. That doesn't mean that I did something to a child. It's just weird and creepy. You just want to run with the narrative, just like this itch thing that's happening now. You haven't seen anything like that, any activity with my private parts in 2-3 years. Now this thing is happening all of a sudden, kind of like I'm getting some low-key teasing about it. They're not being too overt about it because I did kind of make the comments that I'm making now in this video that it's so unfair I have no privacy. You know, and I'm a woman and things happen. And now I can't even take care of myself because they're all watching. So they haven't been too nasty about it, but low-key like little stuff, you know, and then even with the video like teasing about itching. To use that as validation of whatever lies. I'm very anal about mines. Like, I clean myself. Anyways, y'all, I'm gonna finish this video in a minute. There's so much to uncover, but this is really what I wanted to show with this technology. Show you the capabilities of this thing, because they could frame you if they wanted to. I have so much to talk about. I don't want the video to be too long, though. I'm coming back. I want to listen to the things I've said so far. I'll be back. There's so much to talk about. So much unfair activities. Stuff with my credit score. They knew I was about to get a car. They sabotaged that. Just like they sent me the lemon scooter. All kinds of stuff, you know. Hold on. I'll be back. Okay, y'all. I'm back. Let me actually head over to my Let me head over to my text messages. So, anyways, y'all, it's AI that's being used really to program, because those last few clips I started out talking about this topic here that I wanted to get into about the programming, right? And how they've been programming this gay narrative into my brain. And I went off on a tangent, a relative one, but nonetheless a tangent, just talking about how high science this program is and all of the technology they use, and the fact that this is an AI based program. And so that's what I was really talking about in those last few clips, but I kind of deviated away from the main point and started just going in on the technological aspect of things. And I have videos linked in the description box and comment section that you can listen to hear more information about those things. So just getting back to the main point, there's been programming that, in addition to many other false narratives, into my brain, constantly throwing the gay thing at me. They've been doing that for the last 2 years, but I noticed, like, within the last 3 months, since the activity that took place in the gym, and me, what I've recently documented in the recent videos I made about some of the mean things that I thought in my head. I might as well have said them, because remember, my thoughts are being projected in reaction to gang stalking in the gym. It's like created this thing where it's like a lot of people are holding a torch for the guy that I thought the mean things about, and they think I'm like this. It's just added to in their preconceived, in their minds, it's added to their preconceived notion that I'm this bad person. And so they're holding a torch for the guy, and it's like that's when they started even more so. Look at them making the noises than ever, pushing the gay thing. Like they're trying to now spin it like I treat men bad because I'm gay, when they haven't seen me treat anyone bad aside from him. I mean, it's been females too. It's been literally any gang stalker could get it. And now that I've started working during the daytime, I've really tamed myself and tried to control these reactions. But I've thought mean things about females too that were gang stalking and doing annoying things, not just men. So again, just trying to use this to validate the false narrative. I started treating him how I started treating him, or thinking the things I started thinking about him, when he started amping up with the gang stalking activity in the morning time. They know what happened. They saw everything, and they're still just pushing false narratives and siding with him. That's just how it is when you're a target. And I don't have an issue with the guy, really. I really just wish they would stop using him as a gang stalker. I just want things to go back to normal. I want it to be like he doesn't exist in my world and I don't exist in his world. That's what I want it to go back to. Like, I want to go to the gym and it's like a random stranger. Like we don't know each other and nothing ever happened, that type of way. It's just this thing where they're still using him. Like, even the other night, it was this weird activity. Like, I don't want to really document it too much. I just don't want to keep talking about the thing, or else I just feel like it's going to continue. I'm going to talk about it. It's to the point where it seems like, I'll be careful with my words. It seems like there's even a judge just riding for the guy. There's a judge in the gym. I've talked about this recently. And she's riding for the man too. I'm just like, what? Anyways, I don't want to go off on a tangent on that, right? So anyways, so they're using that though. What happened in the gym, like, to push this gay thing? They started real hardcore in these last 3 months, pushing it like crazy with the technology. And this was before I had any dream or thought of my one female coworker, right? So anyways, just pushing this narrative about me being gay or bisexual or fluid, and trying to paint it like I'm this freaky bisexual female. They even sent me Whitney Houston, a documentary, and so I just I like to watch those type of things. I know she had drug addiction, and y'all know I want to become a psychologist because I did deal with drug addiction in my early 20s, alcoholism, right? And that's what they try to paint the false narrative about. They've really taken the text message that clearly resembles, again, what was happening for half a year in several different Airbnbs in Florida right before I moved home. They took that text message, and with their freaking high advanced AI technology, they've created this whole false narrative because they know of my past in my early 20s as an alcoholic. And they've painted this false narrative that somehow something happened that I forgot about, and it led to years later me sending a text, even though the text isn't connected to anything to do with children, and it had everything to do with what happened in the Airbnbs in Florida. So I painted this lie-ass false narrative. I've never blacked out around my nieces or around children. And what happens when you black out, just so you know, with alcoholism, you're not cognizant of what's taking place, and typically you're laid out, right? Because this is what happens to females that black out, if you want to know the real, and what really did happen to me. You black out, and anybody can do anything to your body. That's what happens when you black out. That's why when I was going to rehab in my early 20s here on island, right? And when I was a blackout drunk, by the way, I've said this in several videos, y'all, my story never changed. I was here on island. I wasn't around my nieces. When I was around my nieces, the drinking had just started, but I wasn't blacking out. It wasn't to the point where I was blacking out and waking up, right? The next day not remembering what happened. That didn't happen to me until I moved home and certain things took place. I talked about it in detail in my full story. Anyway, so that was when, around the time when I went to rehab too, was when I had moved back to the island in my early 20s. I wasn't around children when the blacking out started. Anyway, so what did happen though was I blacked out. I told the story already, y'all. I don't need to tell the story again. While I was hanging with my cousin and his friends, and his friend had a field day with me while I was blacked out. I woke up with him doing whatever. That's what happened. And I remember in the rehab too, they were encouraging us to take STD tests, and they were encouraging us to take HIV tests as recovering drug addicts, because it's a known fact that females that have drug addiction are typically taken advantage of. Not that you're taking advantage of anybody. You're blacked out and anybody can do whatever to you. And that's what typically happens. So a lot of times females that have drug addiction will come in and they'll have STDs because for weeks and weeks and months at a time, it really just depends on how bad your addiction was. You kind of are living this promiscuous lifestyle, whether you chose it or not, because you're out there, right? And you're exposed to all these different people. And some of them are scrupulous, right? And don't have morals, and they'll take advantage of you. You know, if they feel like, okay, you don't respect yourself enough to stay aware or whatever, they feel like, okay, well, then your body's there for the taking. You're available. And that's what happens to some females, a lot of females. Like, I remember the lady in the rehab was telling me that. Like, she was saying, this is why it's so important you take the test. Because I remember I was freaking out about taking the HIV test. Now, mind you, I haven't lived a promiscuous lifestyle. I'm not judging anybody that has, because drug addiction is drug addiction, and one sin isn't greater than the other. So even if I were drug addicted and I were blessed enough to not have fallen victim to a promiscuous lifestyle, or to a life, let me not say fallen victim to a promiscuous lifestyle, because some people live a promiscuous lifestyle by choice, and I don't want to come across as judgmental. If that's how you live, that's your prerogative, and I'm not judging you. But I mean, falling victim to blacking out and being taken advantage of multiple times, like some drug addicts. That wasn't the case with me, thank the Most High. It happened one time to me. But some females, like, it's a reoccurring thing. Like, if your addiction is bad enough and you're not in a safe enough environment, you can get taken advantage of over and over and over again. And a lot of these men don't care. Like, they'll do stuff with you and not use a condom. They're nasty. Like, some men are very nasty. Anyway, so she was just explaining to me why she really felt like I needed to take the test. And I was explaining to her, well, I haven't, this is the only time this has happened to me. Actually, the blackout thing hadn't happened yet. That's the other crazy thing. Now that I remember the story, the blackout hadn't even happened yet when I went to get tested. The day that I went to get tested at the rehab, this is the crazy story, y'all. I can't make this up. My life is a freaking movie. The crazy shit that be happening to me. The day that I was supposed to get tested in the rehab, I took the test. She swabbed in my mouth, the HIV test. I had only had one partner at this time. The guy that took my virginity, sorry for the TMI, y'all, when I was living in Florida. The ex that led me on and was basically using me for sex, right? For like a number of, almost a year or however long it was taking place for. What happened with him, I'm not telling the whole story again, was him and I were together when I first got up to school. I was with him for like a year. I realized I didn't want to be tied into a relationship so soon. We were living together. Things moved so fast, like, because we liked each other and we had chemistry and whatever. He ended, you know, we ended up living together in the apartment very soon after getting together. And it was just like, it almost felt like I was married and I was only 18. And it just felt like too much. Like I wanted to get out there. I'm not going to lie. I'm an honest person. I've always been honest. I wanted to meet people. Like I wasn't ready to be settled into something so young at 18. I wanted to still go out there and party and see the other options. And as much as I did like him, because they make it seem like I didn't, I did. And I'm not gay. I'm straight. I like men. I just felt like it was like I felt married and I was only 18. And that's understandable. You know, most people, if they said that, people would understand it because it's me, of course, another thing. Sorry, I started hearing noise in the background. They started trying to use it, you know, to create whatever. Anyway, so him and I ended up breaking up with him. And the way I did it, I think, is what was wrong because I had ended up going back home, you know, to the island where I'm from for vacation. And I ended up breaking up with him through text. And it's really just because I was like, I didn't know how to do it to his face. I'm a very introverted person. And although I had grown comfortable with him to the point where I had opened up completely to him and stuff, I couldn't have imagined breaking up with him in person. I didn't do it. So I broke up with him through text, and it's so horrible because that seems insensitive. And I remember my sister and my mom telling me that that was really bad, but I wasn't trying to, it wasn't intentional. It was really, I just didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to do it to his face. I couldn't do it. So anyways, about like 2 years later, him and I started talking again and like dating each other again. And one thing led to the other, and he ended up taking my virginity. And then it turned into this thing where he was like leading me on and purposefully like making it seem like we were together, but acting like he was single. It was this weird thing with him and just hitting me up really whenever he wanted to, you know, that's pretty much what it was turning into. We would hang out like once in a blue moon during the daytime. Like he was really just, like I was only really hearing from him whenever he wanted to do whatever. And he, in all fairness, had gotten more busy because he was in school when him and I were together. But at this time now, he was in school and he was working 2 jobs. And he was close to graduation. Because he's older than me. He was like, I think 2 or 3 years older than me. He was a year younger than my sister. So he was like 2 years older than me. So he was, at this point, 2 years later, about to graduate. Remember? I told you I got with him as soon as I got up there to school. So he was already 2 years into schooling when we had first got together. So now 2 years later, he's about to graduate. So he had his life together. You know, he had things mapped out, and I think he felt like I was the bitch that did whatever, whenever. And so to him, I just kind of turned into like this thing he was using for whatever. And I even kind of looked on social media and stuff, and I saw him talking to other females like out in the open on social media. Like he was just being very open about, you know, the fact that he wasn't really serious about me this time around, even though he was telling me certain things and leading me on. So anyways, that's also to what added to the drinking. That was a major part of it. I had lost so much weight with this guy. Like I got so skinny when whatever was happening with him was happening. I started going off the rocker a little bit too. Because I had been holding on to my virginity for so long. I was holding on to the thing since high school. And literally like at age 21, I gave it to him. And I, you know, how it is, like it's a soul tie. Whenever you're a female and you start doing stuff with a man, especially if it's like the first guy, it's like a soul tie is created. And so I'm here like completely trying my damnedest to get this man to take me seriously. And he was not doing it. He was having a field day. And I remember the straw that broke the camel's back was that I wrote him this big, long, like almost like this love letter via text message, this big, long thing. And he replied back K. Hours later, he replied back K. And so at that point, I was just like, okay, come on now, like have some self-respect or some self-worth. And I just finally realized this wasn't going right. And I had lost a lot of weight too. I was so skinny. And so then I moved back home, and other things took place when I moved back home. And, you know, that's around the time when the cyberbullying situation happened. Actually, it's a long freaking complicated story, but a lot was taking place around the time when I became a blackout drunk and I moved back to this island. A lot of things compiled together. I was no longer in school. I had lost my financial aid due to failing this math class multiple times, even though I had a 2.5 GPA, right? So that's an 80% percent grade point average. They had started doing this new thing at the school I was at, where if you failed the same class more than once, your completion rate would drop and you lose your financial aid. So it was just a lot going on at the time when I moved back home from Florida, and I was a blackout drunk. Anyway, so one thing led to the next and I got raped. And I didn't really find out or have the confirmation that the thing happened until 2 years later, like I suspected. And that's the only time a blackout happened where I suspected something happened and I couldn't confirm it because I was freaking out. I know everyone in this house remembers when it happened. The next day I was like, I think something happened. You know, I'm a hypochondriac. I'm paranoid. I'm never going to think something happened and not open my mouth about it. So I remember I was going to my mom and I was haranguing her about it. I was like, I think something happened, I'm feeling weird down there. I'm feeling weird down there. I'm just freaking out because I'm such a freaking hypochondriac and scared of STDs and this and that. And at the time, I had never done it without protection. Like my ex and him and I used protection, and I was even still paranoid about having an STD from doing stuff with him. And him and I we were using protection. That was the whole reason why in the rehab, when the lady was trying to get me to take the HIV test, I was scared to take it because I had realized that he was messing with different people. My ex, I had even found a condom in his closet that wasn't used with him and I. And so I realized he was doing his thing. He was being like a boy, right? He was being out there doing whatever. And I remember just feeling so paranoid, like, what if the condom broke and this and that and da-da-da-da? Because I remember, like, there were several times with him and I don't want to give a TMI, where I think the condom might have broke. And so this is why I was scared. I was just terrified about getting, like, tested and stuff. And so I didn't want to take the HIV test. And so this day where I was supposed to take the HIV test at the rehab, I was explaining to her that I had been with this guy and he was, doing whatever. And I wasn't sure if I had something. And she said, you have nothing to worry about. She said, a lot of these women in here have been raped multiple times and they get tested. She said, you can do this. You've only been with one man. She was just trying to convince me that everything would be okay. And she said, also trying to convince me that even if I did have it, it wouldn't be a big deal. It's not a death sentence anymore, and da-da-da-da, and just trying to, comfort me about the thing, right? And so I took the test. She put the swab in my mouth. And, it's so embarrassing because this thing is viral now, right? The whole island is watching. So this lady that was in the rehab, if she's still down here, she's probably watching me right now. Like, it's just so weird to think about it. But I know she remembers all of this happening. Anyway, so she put the swab in my mouth. I took the test. She put it in the liquid, right? So to see what the reaction would be, what color it would turn to show the result. And before she could get the result, I got up. I said, I can't do this. And I slapped the test down. Like, this is the level of fear and hypochondria I was going through at the moment. I slapped the test down and I ran out, and I had my mother's car at the time. My mom had lent me the car for the day. I hopped in the car and I sped over to the neighborhood I live in now, where my cousin was living at the time and my grandfather was living at the time. And at this time, I was hanging out with that crowd. I was hanging out with my cousin, and I was hanging out with his girlfriend at the time, and I was hanging out with their friends. And I was telling them, y'all, I'm scared. I took an HIV test. I was like, I'm so scared. I don't know what's going to happen. I took an HIV test. I said, I need to drink. Sorry for the abrupt cutoff of the video, y'all. I had someone in my close circle out in the hallway trying to get into the bathroom. Because obviously someone out there is in the bathroom, and so you could hear it through my door. That's how thin these walls are. This is what's caused the issue recently. Excuse me, but I abruptly ended the video so it wouldn't interfere, but I still kind of heard her in the end of the clip. And you did too, I'm sure. Anyway, so I'm not meaning to tell the story again anyway. I'm kind of glad the interruption happened. If you listen to my story, one of my stories, y'all, especially my full story where I told my life story, that 11-hour video compilation where I'm on camera, and there are other videos where I've talked about it too, you'll hear the story about how this rape happened. But yeah, that's when it happened, was the day when I actually got tested at the rehab. And I was freaking out about the test, and coincidentally enough, my fear is what led to me being in a situation where I really did almost get raped. I mean, what am I saying, almost get raped? I'm sorry, where I really did get raped and could have gotten, whatever, right? I really made myself vulnerable in that moment, where now I really could have had, caught that, whatever. Not even necessarily just that thing that I was scared of, anything really. So, anyways, yeah, I'm trying to figure out how I went off on that tangent. What the heck? Oh, because I was talking about my addiction and the fact that they started trying to, because I, again, going off on a tangent, still talking about the gay programming, went off on a tangent again. This time, instead of going off on the tangent about the programming and the technology, I went off on the tangent about the gay narrative and my addiction. And really, again, focusing in on the topic, I was talking about how with the shadow networking AI software recently, they've been doing it for the last 2 years, but specifically these last few months since this stuff at the gym started, really hardcore pushing the gay narrative at me, right? And the DL, down low. First of all, females aren't on a down low. I've never met or heard of a female, and maybe it's a thing, I don't know. But what's common is men being on the down low. Because even in this day and age now, as liberal as things are, there's still some sort of stigma when it comes to men in particular about being gay, right? There are men that are open about it. We're in a liberal time, like I said, so it's not like before where men were like hiding it as prevalently, but it's still something that's hidden. You have quite a few men that are on the DL, they like men, or I guess they're bisexual, whatever it is that they got going on, and they're too ashamed to openly say that that's what they're doing, so they'll get in these fictitious relationships with females and use the female as a beard. And in the meantime, they're partaking in down low activity. It still happens in this day and age, but that's more common amongst men because, again, there's still some sort of taboo and stigma when it comes to being gay in the male population. Some men still feel like this embarrassment about it, especially if it's a more masculine man and not a feminine man. That's not a thing to my knowledge with females. It's glorified in this day and age, being gay as a female. It's looked at as something that's sexy and cool, and you know, you have some females lying about being gay just to sound cool. Like it's really not what they're trying to make it seem. If I were gay, I would be open about it. Like what would I have to hide that for? I don't understand in this liberal time. Like, why would I hide something like that? I like men, right? So anyways, that being said, you know, I don't understand why they're pushing this narrative. Again, it's just to malign me and push a false narrative. And that text message narrative is like the worst narrative out of all of them. So anyways, they even sent me with the programming I was telling y'all about Whitney Houston, and that's how I went off on the drug addiction tangent about how she was fluid and she was bisexual and she had like this best friend that was like a gay or whatever, that she had this like down low fling. Well, it wasn't down low, like people knew about it. She just wasn't flaunting it. This fling with, but she was kind of fluid and she liked men too, and it seems like she was a sex addict actually. So this is what they're throwing at me and trying to paint this false narrative. I can't believe this is what they're doing, and anybody that knows me knows that's not true. Like I said, it takes so much for me to even open up to a person in a sexual way because I'm such a funny person and the personality that I have. I'm not saying I'm a prude. By no stretch of the imagination am I a prude. But I have to be comfortable with you. I have to feel like a connection with you. I have to really like you for it to go there. And for us to even take it there in the first place, I'm not just somebody that's out there just living this. You know, if you are that kind of person, no problem. You know, I'm not judging you, but that's just not me. I'm not out there living this fluid lifestyle and with the wind and, okay, I'm with this person and that person. That's just not the life I've lived. And, you know, I've never had a sexual interaction with a female. Actually, this thing with this coworker here is, like I said, humiliating, and it's a new thing, right? So this is why I'm hinting at technology, because I've been being programmed for months on end. And then all of a sudden now this weird thing, this dream with this coworker, and it wasn't even sexual in nature. She and I didn't do anything in the dream. I keep hearing noises about it being sexual in nature. I don't understand why I keep hearing noises when I say it wasn't sexual in nature. How is me grabbing her face and giving her water sexual? I don't understand that. Anyway, so I don't really understand. Even if, again, like I said, even if I were having an attraction to this coworker, because I'm an honest person, I'm not a liar. I do find her attractive. I'm not a liar. I do think she's attractive. But even if I were having some sort of attraction to her, that doesn't mean that I'm gay. I still like men. There are females that are straight that have had an attraction to a female. It's happened before. I've had a family member telling me about that. This coworker she was working with, that the same thing happened. It doesn't mean that you're gay. First of all, I don't have a reason to hide that. And this is the first female. Again, let's look at the evidence. They've been in my brain for however long. In fact, when they were in my brain initially, I didn't know about it. They saw my thoughts and they saw that I was daydreaming about a man. And that's how they revealed to me that they were in my brain, because they sent the name of the man I was daydreaming about to my pool game. And for the last 2 years, that's all they've seen is me daydreaming about men. So this is an isolated incident, and things like this happen all the time. There are moments where you could find the same sex attractive. It can happen, right? It's possible. It's something that happens all the freaking time. I don't have to hide it. I don't care. She is attractive. Whoop-de-doo. That doesn't mean I did something to a child. That's disgusting to try to link the two. After 2 years of not seeing any activity in my brain, and now this one isolated incident, you would try to create something from it? That's crazy. She's attractive. Whoop-de-doo. I don't know why I had the dream. Again, it could be technology, or it could just be that I find her attractive. Who really knows? I do think she's attractive. I'm not a liar. I'm not going to say a lie. I do think she's attractive. It is what it is. But I don't understand how they're saying it's sexual, me feeding her water. How is that sexual? I guess if we were doing some freaky stuff in the dream, that's not what was happening. So anyways, what is happening though, similar to what was happening with the Italian guy, is this angst has been created. Again, I told y'all how the situation with her started, and it started from a different narrative, PTSD from a different narrative, and then it turned into something else. Similar to with the Italian guy, there is this like constant thought about the situation now, where I'm thinking about it excessively now. It's just so reminiscent of what was going on with the Italian guy. It's kind of a play on that, but she's the only female that this has happened with, again. So it's an isolated incident. And even if I were bisexual, which I'm not, but even if I were and I chose to live that type of lifestyle and I did find females and men attractive, that doesn't mean that I would do something to a child. And they can't take that and try to tie it to the text message thing. It still doesn't add up. It's not lining up. You still can't take away from the refutation of the prior videos that I made or the points that I made. Anyway, so I'm going to be honest. I'm not a liar. I do find her attractive. I'm not going to lie. Like, she's one of the few females that I've ever even found attractive. Literally. Like, I don't look at females. I like men. Big, strong men at that, to be honest with you. In fact, the reason that I'm not attracted to, and I have to be careful with this. I made a lot of enemies saying this too. No offense. I'm not saying this in an offensive way. And I'm not trying to say anything negative about men that are shorter. I'm sure you're a good person. I'm sure there's someone out there for you, just like there's someone out there for me. That's part of why I'm not attracted to men that are shorter than me, because I want to feel feminine in the relationship. And I feel like if I'm bigger than the man, I'm not going to be feeling feminine enough in the relationship. That's the kind of what I'm looking for as far as the dynamic goes in a relationship. So for me, females are females. How am I going to feel feminine in a relationship with another female? That doesn't make sense. So I'm not typically attracted to females. I'm not bisexual, but I do find her attractive. She just happens to be a badass female. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. I don't know what created the situation really, but I know they've been programming the narrative of me being gay for the last 3 months. I had angst towards this female, like this anxious feeling. I talked about it in the humiliation video because of the false narrative about me being a homewrecker. And so in my stupid, convoluted mind, I created a situation. It's my fault. With her and her husband. And then that's what led to anything with her in the first place. And so I talked about it in the video. I started seeing her more, I think, because I talked about her in the video. This is typically what happens when I make these videos about people. And then I think the angst of it made me think about her, and kind of like how I was thinking about the Italian guy. And I think maybe that's what led to the dream. I don't know. Or maybe they sent the dream to be spiteful with the technology. I don't know. I do know I find her attractive, but it's not like I'm trying to be with her. She's married. She has children. And it's not anything sexual in nature. I mean, I do find her attractive, but it's not like I'm sitting there having sexual fantasies about her. It's not happening. So anyways, I don't know. I don't care. I don't have anything to hide. I find her attractive. I'm saying that out in the open. I really don't care. It's not a big deal. But that doesn't mean that I'm bisexual. It's an isolated incident. And even if I were bisexual and I was finding Susie, Tom, Amanda, Joe, whoever, like every person attractive, right? Men and females, that still doesn't mean that I would do something to a child. They can't run with that narrative. It's disgusting. Anyway, so that's it with that. The next thing I wanted to talk about was discuss the rent situation. Okay. So I actually skipped over. How did I skip over the credit report and the incident with my dad? How did I get to the gay programming before I talked about the credit report and the incident with my dad? I don't understand how that happened. I'm still trying to figure out how that happened. Because I was talking about the technology. And so I think I ended up skipping to that point to piggyback off of what I was talking about at the beginning of the video. So let's talk about what happened with my credit report, y'all. So they're still sabotaging as far as getting transportation goes. So they know that I'm trying to get a car, right? A couple months ago, this coworker at work started telling me about basically getting a car loan, and if I have a certain credit score, like if I have a 620 is what she was saying. But then when I called the credit union, they were telling me a 670. She was saying basically that, what she did was she got with this credit union here on island. She wasn't with them before, got with them. Her credit wasn't that good, and she said that they worked with her with the 620, and she was able to get a car loan from them and get a brand new car. I'm a target, so nobody's trying to work with me. I remember even when I went in the credit union, I could just tell, they know about me. So nobody's trying to work with me. It's just not that type of party for me. So they're very strict into the rules with the thing. And you got to have a 670, or you have to have been with them for 6 months in order to have a lower score and get a car with them. So I'm like, okay, well, I can raise the score. I'm at 600. I was at like 610, I think, when I first started hearing about this car loan thing. And I was like, I'm going to look at the stuff on my credit report and I'm going to fix it. Because my credit was good before I left island. This is the unfair thing about it all. Before I tried to relocate off island and the targeting went viral, my credit score was a 700 and change. That's why I was able to get into the car loan that I was able to get into, the one that's now biting me in the ass right now when I was in the States. I got into a car loan with Carvana, a very cheap car loan because my credit was so damn good. And I ended up losing the car due to the targeting. Obviously I didn't stay up there. I had gotten a credit card too, maxed out on the credit card, all kinds of stuff. My credit went to the pooper real quick. And that's what happens to most targets. Financial ruin. Your credit's ruined. All kinds of stuff. I'm blessed to be where I'm at right now, where I have 2 jobs. Some targets don't even have a job. That was me in 2023, where I didn't have a job. Anyway, so that's why my credit's in the pooper, right? But they didn't have the car on my report, nor did they have my school loans, my student loans on my report. Thank the Most High. You could see the student loans floating at the top, but it wasn't in the debt section yet because they had it in forbearance. They had it in forbearance because I had spoken with someone about 2 years ago, and I let them know, just to tell you, I have been planning to get my master's. I let them know I was planning to go back to school and I was going to get my master's. Excuse me. So anyways, oh my God, I'm hearing the plane that made me lose my train of thought. What the heck is going on? Yeah, so that was whoa. My brain went blank. I heard the plane and my brain went blank. So I had let them know I was planning to get my master's. So my student loans were in forbearance. So you can see at the top the big $75,000 that I owe, but it wasn't like in the debt area, right? So all I had was 2 open collections that had derogatory marks on my credit, right? 3 of them actually. One was from when I tried to relocate off island, the car insurance I had gotten with the car I had gotten on Carvana. I stopped paying the insurance. Obviously, I left abruptly because of what was going on with the targeting. I left the car up there, everything. Lost the car. The insurance kept charging me, spitefully, I think. I think it had to do with the targeting. They kept charging me the insurance. Let me not say spitefully and start hurling accusations, but you know how it is when you're targeted. And so I racked up a whole 1,000 and change bill from the insurance that I had on the car. So that's still open in collections right now. I paid it down to 1,000. I'm almost done paying it off. I stopped paying it. I do want to fix my credit, but with the spiteful sabotage thing they did recently, I'm more so focused on saving my money to get a car right now because there's another option that I can use to get a car. And this is the option I did before I relocated off island and my targeting went viral. There were 2 cars I got from this dealership down here. And what it is he sells used cars. And what he'll do is he'll let you make payments on it, but you have to pay him a down payment, like $3,000 to $4,000 down payment in order to even secure the vehicle, right? And then he'll let you make payments on the rest of it. And it doesn't matter what your credit looks like. So he was working with me. My credit was good anyway, so it didn't matter what my credit looked like. But he said it doesn't matter what your credit is. As long as you pay this down payment and you prove to me you have a job and you can make these payments, then you could get the car. So I got 2 cars from this dealership, and he sells some really good quality cars. So that was initially what I was planning to do anyways. I just happened to sit with this coworker I'm shadowing, right? My coworkers right now, I'm a cadet in training. And she was just telling me an open random conversation about her car because I was telling her I was trying to get a car. And so she was telling me about the option about getting a car loan. So I was telling her, well, my credit's no longer good. It's fair at this point. And she was telling me, just raise it up a little bit and try to get into this loan because you can get a brand new car, blah, blah, blah. So that was the route I was trying to take. And I was well on my way, y'all. I had a 643. You need a 670 to get the car, right? I had a 643. You know, these people are watching me and what's going on with me in the mainland. The people, because it's a lot of people watching me and a lot of people involved in my targeting. In the mainland, where I thought initially that's who was running the technology, but I'm realizing right here on island, a lot of the technology is being ran and controlled. But in the mainland, they're watching everything that's going on. It's like this gridlock system, and obviously I'm still listed as target. So they're seeing what's going on. They see that I'm trying to get a car. They already sabotaged me getting a scooter. Let me go over to this is how frustrating it is, y'all. This is why I almost started crying this morning when I was being told I couldn't use the car, because it's just so unfair what's happened to me, right? Let me go over to YouTube though. So you could see that this says still struggling with transportation. You can see I made this video 5 months ago. Check that video out, y'all. You see it's 49 minutes long. You see the thumbnail says public transportation. I was even having trouble with the public transportation. I couldn't catch a taxi. I was having trouble catching the main public bus. You know, that was easier to do if I were leaving the gym, because there's a main station outside of the gym. But to get to the gym, the main public bus was coming late. All kinds of stuff was happening due to, I believe, the targeting. And the reason I know is because of noise campaigns, gang stalkers saying certain things while I'm waiting for the bus to show up. You know, so that was happening. Taxis completely weren't stopping for me. And so I said, you know what, I'm working. At the time I was only doing security. I wasn't working the day job yet. I was like, I'm working. I can try to put some money together and at least get an electric scooter, and I can get from point A to point B, because I saw it on YouTube, you know, that this is how people were getting around and saving money instead of using their vehicles. I actually have a coworker right now that works the day job with me. He's making big money. He's been there for years. A CEO, you know, they're making big money every 2 weeks. They're making 2,000 and change, some of them 3,000 and change, some of them 4,000 and change, right? He's been there for a long time. I know he's making money. He's riding an electric bike to work just because, to save money and to stay in shape. He's older. I think he's in his 50s or something. So to stay in shape and to save money, he said it doesn't make sense driving the car, even though I have it, and wasting gas when I can hop on my electric bike and go back and forth. He's going back and forth to work on an electric bike, and he doesn't even have to do it. So there are people that travel that way, right? So I came into that idea. I was looking into different things that I could do to get around, you know, since all this sabotage and stuff was happening at the time and I didn't have transportation. I started looking into an electric scooter. Immediately weird stuff with the technology. You know, I went on Walmart. They had a good quality electric scooter that came with a warranty, so they wouldn't have been able to send me a lemon. They started blocking up Walmart. So every scooter I clicked on, all of a sudden it was saying unavailable, 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 unavailable. So I couldn't order it via Walmart, which is what they wanted. They wanted me to order a scooter that had no warranty so that they could send me a lemon. So I finally went on eBay and I ordered a scooter. They sent me a lemon scooter, a defective scooter. Thank the Most High, I at least got my money back. Right? So now fast forward, I'm finally working this day job. Now I have 2 jobs. I'm making a decent amount of money. I'm making around the same amount of money now that I was making before I tried to leave island. When I was teaching and I was doing the security, I'm making around the same amount of money, a little bit less, like 200 less, but basically around the same amount of money, about 1,500 every 2 weeks. I'm making a decent amount of money. I can get a car now, right? My credit is ain't shit, right? My credit is completely messed up now because of sabotage, right? So now that I'm making this money, I knew I could save up and get the car, and I could easily pay off these things on the collection. It was like 2 little accounts that were open. The credit card I maxed out and the insurance that I had on the car lease. It seemed like they had taken pity on me and not put the car on my credit report. I think they just didn't care to do it because they knew it was from the targeting, but they're watching everything I'm doing. And so now that they saw that I was trying to get a car loan, they devised, I guess, this plan to mess up my credit. Because first I just noticed all of a sudden, let me go over to my credit right now, y'all. Look at this. You see that? 175 points. You see where my credit is now? A 463, right? So let's go over to debt. You see I have 75,000 in student loans. Really expensive shit. I have a whole degree, y'all. Graduated magna cum laude. I have 2 degrees. I have an associate degree and then I have a bachelor's degree where I graduated magna cum laude. Right? Couldn't even get a job in teaching again because of the damn targeting. But it's fine. The most I made things work out. I have a decent job now, right? So I'm not complaining. And I have a mindset of what I want to do with the degree. I already explained the trajectory to you all. I'm planning to get my master's degree in psychology, and then eventually down the line, right, in like 5 to 6 years, I'd like to become a psychologist underneath the borough that I'm working for. So like work with inmates as a psychologist. From what I understand, the psychologists for the prison that I'm working at now, or the jail, just quit. And there were two others that I think left as well. And there's been an open position for a psychologist at the borough over on the neighboring island as well for a long time too. So it's a position that's needed. And so for me, I'm like, okay, that's something I could do with the degree. So it's not like I wasted my degree and I can do something I'm passionate about. So for now, I want to work as a corrections officer. That's going to be for a number of years. Get my master's degree and then become a psychologist. That's the goal. But I realized something it's just like, I just feel relieved that all of this debt is not going to be for no reason. I'm going to be able to put my degree to use. But nonetheless, the debt is there. But it was in forbearance. It was showing here, but it wasn't like it was showing down here in loans. I noticed all of a sudden, you see the collections, y'all? You see I only have the $1,000 thing in my collections, right? For the insurance. That was higher. That was almost $2,000. I paid it down to $1,000. There were two other accounts on here. There was one for $700 and change and one for $500 and change. I paid both of them off. My credit score hopped up to 640. I also had my credit card. I've been paying on the credit card and using that to raise my credit score. I owed money on the credit card. I paid that off as well, right? All of a sudden, I see my loans, my school loans showing up, right? I see the $74,000 showing in loans. I was like, okay. So I called them. I said, are they really going to start doing this now to mess up my credit so that I can't get this car? So I called them immediately before it hit my credit score. And I talked with one of their representatives, and I was explaining to her that I'm planning to join a master's program. I'm not done with school. So can she please put my loan back into forbearance? And so she was explaining to me, well, you need to enroll in classes in order for that to happen. But there are other options. And so she gave me the option of basically having it in forbearance for 90 days. And that's the time allotted for me to get into classes. And I have to prove to them that I'm in the classes and it will stay in forbearance. So I felt like the whole situation was dealt with. I'm like, okay, I'm good. On the road to getting a car. Woo! 643 credit score. I raised it all the way up to that. From, I think it was initially like a 599. It had went that low from all of the things that took place when I tried to relocate off island. Let me remind you again, I had a 700 and change before I left island. Anyways, so I just went on the, like, day before yesterday, or it was yesterday when I was flipping out about it, actually. It was day before yesterday. I went on and I noticed, someone just told me check your credit, because I kept checking it to see if the points were going up. Check the credit. I noticed the thing took a 175 point hit. The thing went down to y'all can see 463. So I was like, are you kidding me? I said, are they really doing this? Are they really going to sabotage like this to stop me from getting this car loan? So I immediately called the credit reporting system company, whatever, the hotline, to figure out what was going on. They said, oh, we're seeing that you had a car repoed in 2022. We saw that you had a car repoed and this and that, da, da, da. I said, yes, I did. I said, but why is it only now showing on my report? I said, that repo happened 2 years ago. They never put it on the report. I said, why is it on the report now? And she said, well, it seems like, they just put it on, whatever she was explaining to me. She said, you can't see it on Credit Karma, but it's there. I said, I can't see it on Credit Karma, but it's here. I said, but why are the points only now coming off? I said, when did they actually decide to hit my credit with the car loan? And she said, let me look at the date. The date was December. The end of December, right? That was around the time when I started talking to the coworker about fixing my credit. The end of December, remember we're in January now, y'all. It's January 26th. The end of December was when I had this conversation with the coworker. All of a sudden, I'm seeing all this extra stuff on the credit report. So it hit right away, right? And so now 175 points. I was 30 points away, y'all. Not even 30. Yeah, 30 points away from getting the car loan. They purposely put that thing on there so that I lost 175 points on my credit score. Sabotage as usual. And now I have a 400 and change credit score, so I can't get the car loan. And I called the company, right? A bunch of sensitization and directed convo. I spoke to the first representative and I asked him, I said, hey, I said, I was going through a financial hardship. I saw online that, I can make an arrangement with the company. And if you all out of goodwill you can take it off of my credit report and accept payments from me. He said, oh, well, there's nothing we can do. He said, you're going to pay. That's how he said it. That's what the man said to me. He said, you're going to have to, he cleared his throat And then he went, pay if you want to get it off your credit report. And it was just so creepy, y'all. Right? So then I said, well, let me speak to a supervisor. And I'm getting over to a supervisor. She's basically saying the same thing, that I have to pay off the principal in full in order to get it off my credit report. It's $12,000. Yeah, I'm making money now. I don't have enough to drop 12,000. Right? I would have to sit here and make payments for a whole year. So you're talking about a whole year of me having to pay off a vehicle that I'm not going to get. It's a loss in order for me to raise my credit score to get a vehicle. This is the type of shitty ass games they play with targets. And I didn't even deserve the targeting in the first place. This is how unfair it is. So anyways, I was livid when I saw this, because I was like, these spiteful ass fucking people. Like, I was so angry because they saw how diligently, and they waited till I paid off several accounts. That's all money that could have went towards this down payment to me getting a car if I had went the other route that I'm now gonna have to go. I took the money and I was making all these down payments, paying off these collections. They let me get the score to a certain amount, right? This is a big game for them, to then hit my credit score the way that they did. So I was livid and I was flipping out. This was the day before yesterday. I was pissed and I was going off about it. And so I started to make a video about it. And as I'm making the video about it, someone in my close circle comes home. So I'm mid-rage, reactive abuse, reacting to this shit here. Someone in my close circle comes home and I guess overhears me making this video where I'm rightfully upset, right? So then he goes in his room and he starts talking to someone in my close circle and having this super loud conversation. Now, this is just how he speaks anyway. Like, this is something we've talked about for years, before I was even a target. Whenever he's on the phone with someone, whether it's a friend, a family member, whoever, let me let this cycle rev out. A member, a friend, whoever, he's talked super loud, like, blah, 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 out the house. It's something we've always teased him about and laughed about. It was jovial and funny before, but as a target, it's annoying, especially when you're using directed convo. And I just dealt with this stupid ass situation, unfair situation. So anyways, y'all, let me finish in a minute. Anyway, y'all, so that's what was happening. I'm already going through this, like, really upsetting moment where I had just for the whole month worked on raising my credit and had successfully raised it to the point where I was literally 30 points away from being eligible for a car loan. And then they purposefully, slammed that car note onto my credit report, and it took a major hit, 175 points lost. In addition to putting my student loans on there. So the student loan thing, they knew I could rectify. But the car loan thing, they could easily just say, well, if you don't pay it to the principal, then no, we're not removing it. And so they knew how to get me with that. But it's like the point that they waited until I paid off like 3 collections to do that. That's all money that could have went towards a down payment towards a car. So I was livid, obviously. And so I was venting, in a video, and this person in my close circle pulled up and he overheard the things I was saying and overheard me venting. He starts this conversation over in the room with someone in my close circle, and he's screaming to the top of his lungs, which, like I said in the last clip, he typically does anyway. That's just how he talks, which is also too why I felt like it was unfair, because the house is so small. The walls are thin. We all hear each other in here. It just sucks. There's no, like, I really have no privacy with the cameras on me and the targeting. But even they kind of don't have privacy because of, like I said, the close proximity of the rooms, the thinness of the walls, etc. Right? The neighbor farts, you hear the neighbor farting. That's how close the damn houses are. It's so irritating when you're targeted and dealing with noise campaigns and the houses are this freaking close together. But anyways, I missed the old neighborhood for that reason. That's the only reason I missed the old neighborhood. Anyway, so he starts this conversation and he's yelling at the top of his lungs and he's doing directed convo, talking about, well, I was eating something and it was really sweet. Remember they were purposely throwing the eat thing at me recently and the sweet thing at me and the tasting, all these perverted stuff, basically insinuating again about me being gay, right? I've never done any of those things that they're throwing at me with any female, by the way. But there's been thrown out at me recently. So just being spiteful with the false narrative. Then he starts screaming about, those rich white people. He's screaming that at the top of his lungs. Now, mind you, remember in my car in Florida, I shared offensive Hebrew Israelite propaganda. And so that propaganda I shared obviously was one of the things that caused the targeting to escalate to a higher level. But a lot of the stuff I shared in my car I learned in my household. I've said this already. Like the whole offensive narrative about that race, right? I learned those things in this household before I learned it anywhere else. Like even the term and the ideology I learned in this household. So it's always crazy to me when they start gang stalking and gaslighting me in that way. The whole reason my targeting took a racial turn in the first place was because when I was in Indiana, the people in my close circle kept calling me and warning me about it being a sundown state. So when things like that happen, I just kind of feel like, what the heck? It's ludicrous to me. Anyway, so again, I reiterate, we were never tyrannical Hebrews in this house. And I'm not coming for that group that I was sharing. Again, I repeat, I had no right sharing that group's content because I wasn't one of their members. I was never a member of their congregation. I had no right to sit there and share their content and act as though those were things that I subscribed to. And so I myself opened a can of worms by doing that. That was my fault. It was reactive abuse, and I dealt with a lot of harsh racial treatment in Indiana due to the targeting taking a racial turn. And I don't think it was that way initially. I think it was the things I was being told on the phone about it being a sundown state. I think it was the interaction on the Greyhound bus with the homeless man, and it wasn't just him. There was a black man on the bus too, a Hispanic man on the bus too, where I had that reaction where I was acting scornful. Didn't hit anybody, didn't say anything disrespectful, but at the time I realized the targeting had followed me. If y'all listen to my story, you'll hear the details. I'm not going into the details about that right now. I actually have a video linked, y'all, in the description box where you can hear about my adventure in the States when I tried to relocate off island and the targeting went viral. That video is linked in the description box in the comment section too. Let me scroll down to it. It's the part 3 gaslighting and no, it's the part 1. It's the part when gaslighting and programming of the targeted individual video. And you see the thumbnail says your mind is programmable. I have that video linked in the description box and comment section. And in that video, y'all, I expound on the things that happened when I tried to relocate off island in 2022, prior to knowing that I was a target. But having dealt with targeting on island for 2 years, I tried to relocate, not knowing the thing would follow me. It followed me and blew up. All of the details of the things that took place up there, including the offensive racial content that I shared, the targeting taking a racial turn in the first place, all of the information is in that part 1 video. It was to the point where things got so bad that in the wee hours of the morning, I've said this already, near a cornfield, I had an incident, seemed like a near-death experience, near a cornfield in Indiana. So listen to that video if you want to hear the details. But this is the things that I was dealing with in Indiana that led to me going down in Florida and showing the offensive shit I shared in my car in Florida. I'm not a prejudiced person. I was with a Colombian guy that's Caucasian right before I came home in 2020 and got targeted. He lived with me. I'm not a prejudiced person. I did subscribe to being Hebrew. I'm not a liar. I did subscribe to being Hebrew. There were certain things that I was taught in my household that I was aware of, but I'm not a prejudiced person. I was with a whole Colombian, and he was on his paperwork checking off Caucasian. He had green eyes, and he lived with me. Anyways, so whatever the case is, it's created this weird thing with that race. Like, I'm so sensitized now, I can't even, talk to anybody of that race without acting weird, without getting a weird expression on my face. I can't watch them on the screen without looking weird. It's similar to how I've been sensitized to females and children. I have these awkward reactions. I look weird. I get this weird look on my face. I'm just completely sensitized. I have PTSD when it comes to that race, when it comes to children, and when it comes to females. That's why I'm so anxious, not to go off on a tangent, about this thing with this coworker, because I have really been anxious about females and children. And so then now this thing with this coworker, it's really just humiliating. And of course they would take it and try to perpetuate the false narrative when it doesn't line up at all. It doesn't match and it's not connected. It's an isolated incident. But anyways, I'm completely sensitized to certain things, and I'm sensitized to that race now. It's just horrible. And they use my awkward reactions to that race and to PTSD and trauma. They use that to propel the narrative that I'm prejudiced. It's a mess what they do. Let me scroll up though. So anyways, he was having direct convo in the room, and he was saying stuff about rich white people and That also, just saying stuff, and it's just pissing me off because I'm already dealing with this thing, and I think it's so unfair. I think the whole thing that happened to me is unfair in the first place. And he's screaming with all this direct to convo. So I remember I was just thinking disrespectful stuff in my head. I wasn't saying anything in a video, but I was like, hey man, I'm gonna get up, I'm so pissed. Just thinking disrespectful stuff in my head. And then I started making a song to relieve the tension. I was like, let me write a song. So I started writing a song. What song was it I started writing? I think it was Tearing Up. This same song here, Tearing Up. I had started writing it. I came across the beat in my newsfeed, and I started writing it just to kind of relieve the stress because I was so pissed about the credit score thing and then the directed convo. And I'm by my window, of course. The house is small. So whenever I'm doing the music, that does travel out the house. I can admit that does travel out the house because there's a certain volume I have to be at to make the music. So if they tell me about that and this is getting to a certain hour and you tell me to stop, no problem. I'll stop. I'm like, okay, I'll finish tomorrow. Or if I'm making a video and it's too loud, okay, no problem. I'll move from by the window or I'll quiet down. But for you to tell me I can't listen to videos in my room when I'm paying to stay here, I'm having this argument now with this other person in my close circle that's saying, you don't pay rent here. You pay your keep here. Whatever she's saying, I'm still paying money. I can't even stay in my room. I had a whole apartment in 2022 before I tried to relocate off island. It had amenities. It had a fridge. It had a bathroom. It had a sink. It had a kitchen. It had a stove. I was paying $600. I'm only staying in this room and I'm paying $300. And I'm being told I'm not paying rent. I had someone else in my close circle do the calculations. In total, the rent that's being paid that this person is paying towards another family member is $1,100. There's 5 of us that live in here. If you split that in 5, that's $220. So that would be about a rent payment. But I'm being told it's not rent. So I have no right to demand certain things and this and that, because what basically happened was when I was hearing the loud directed convo next door, I started thinking in my head, look at this. I said, first of all, he's doing directed convo. I really don't want to hear this right now. And I just dealt with the credit report thing, like how insensitive. But then also, too, it's just a reminder that whenever this person wants, they're screaming at the top of their lungs when they're on the phone. But I can't sit in my room and make a video. I don't even get as loud as he does when he's on the phone. And so I just thought that was so unfair. And so I was thinking all of that in my head, but I didn't say it in a video. But of course, they're hearing my thoughts. So I think that pissed off that person that was yelling. And that's what created the reaction when he got back. That's what I think it really was. He was pissed about the reaction I was having to him yelling on the phone, directed convo about what happened to me in the credit score thing. So before he left, he came and knocked on my door and he said, hey, you need to stop the loud. And actually, it seemed kind of purposeful, but I'm not going to bear false witness and say that's what it was. But I was recording this song Tearing Up, and it was a good run too. That would have been the recording. I'm actually glad it didn't work because this recording I got here sounds better. But I was almost done. It was coming out good, and I was at the last 2 lines. He purposely it seemed like purposefully. I don't want to bear false witness. Remember, I'm being watched on camera. Knocked on the door and opened the door just then and ruined the recording. So of course I was upset about that too. And he said, listen, you're in here making so much noise at this hour tonight. I said, but person in my, I almost said the name of the person, in my close circle, you were just on the phone 2 minutes ago yelling out the room. I heard you to the top of your lungs, and I'm just here doing a recording. You're telling me about it when you were just yelling on the phone 2 minutes ago. And he said, listen, just curl with me. So I said, okay, whatever. I'll just, deal with the song on a different day. It's like I also felt like it was more so too because of the stuff I was thinking about, the directed convo and him being loud and how unfair that is. So anyway, he left. I turned down my stuff. I was like, whatever. I turned down the thing. I'm like, I don't want problems. I'm already in a bad mood. I don't need any problems. I laid on my bed. I had work that night. I worked 2 jobs. I'm working a 9-hour job during the daytime, and I'm working an 8-hour job at night. So I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I haven't been sleeping enough. So many things have been happening recently. Like typically in a time where I'm supposed to be sleeping, I'm either in the gym, because I'm very adamant about making sure I stay consistent with the gym, regardless of what my schedule looks like. So that's happening. I'm working my ass off in the gym, or I'm here making a video about some gang stalking shit that happened, or some targeted individual shit that happened. And so I'm not getting enough rest recently. Like I'm seeing it in my face. I'm 33 and I'm looking, I think in my opinion, like 34 or 35. And prior to working this second job and prior to these last 2 years where the targeting amped up, just look at my full story video. Just scroll back to about a year ago when I'm on camera. Let me scroll to the video for you. This video where I'm on camera and I say how I became a targeted individual. Look at how my face looked there. Like I was aging well. I have good genetics. Not to say good genetics to throw that out there, but like in this family we age well. Like you look young you know, even when you're getting older. There's some that runs in this family. And I take care of myself typically. Before the targeting went viral and I started really dealing with some harsh ass gang stalking, like way worse than what I was dealing with before I left Island, I was aging well. I was on the trajectory to age well. I was looking young for my age. I remember when I was teaching with my students, people kept mistaking me for a student. Like I was aging well just 2 years ago. Now I'm looking at my face and I'm like, damn, I'm looking rough, you know, because I'm working 2 jobs. I'm stressing. I'm dealing with all this stupid shit with the targeting. It's really like, it seems like prematurely aging me. I feel like I look 34, 35 and I'm only 33. It's just so unfair and ridiculous. I feel like they're taking my best years from me. You know, I'm not getting any younger. I'm on this small island. The thing is viral. You know, so it's certain elements and aspects of my life is blocked up. They're teasing me about it. You know, the other day with the technology, you're going to say, no man would claim her. You know full well I'm a target. Of course nobody's going to claim me as a target. You think you can make me forget the life I had prior to my targeting? I had several relationships prior to my targeting. This is why I made this video. Right? Because they kept trying to do that. Gaslight. This is this thing they do where they use tactics to create certain scenarios in your life, like blocking up your life, love life, for example. And then they'll paint the narrative that it's a you thing. Like you're just, no man will claim you. Like it's not that it's targeting and isolation. Right? So anyway, the other day I posted this video, kisses to my exes, and it's about 7 months ago, not the other day, 7 months ago, because they're doing it then too. And it says displaying some of my exes and more targeted individual, blah, 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 right? And I purposely displayed my exes to gaslit me about that too. And she was always, you know, trying to like make it like I was showing off about the relationships I was in, when prior to my targeting, it was the opposite. Nobody knew who I was with. I've never been the type to post my relationships on social media. Only the people in my close circle would know who I was dating. I've never been that type of person. I only did it because they were gaslighting me like what they did the other day, trying to humiliate me. But no man will claim her, knowing all these people are staring at me and knowing full well that I'm targeted. These are the little stupid mind games that they play. You know, prior to me starting to work the 2 jobs, I remember making it seem like I was a failure and I couldn't get a job, when prior to being a target, I have an extensive resume. It's like they try to warp your reality and create these scenarios for you with the targeting, and then try to warp it like that's always been your reality and make you forget about what the life you lived prior to your targeting. That's why I do these videos, you know, and the documentation. That's why I do it. Anyway, it's a lot, y'all. It's heavy. So anyways, so this thing happened here with the credit report or whatever, and this person in my close circle left after he kind of argued with me about doing the music when he had just been yelling on the phone, directed convo. So anyways, I just said whatever, you know, like I said, I wasn't getting enough rest. I need to rest, you know, and I've been coming home and making videos or going to the gym and not getting rest in between the 2 jobs. And it's really taking a toll on me now. In addition to the fact, like I mentioned earlier, that I've been eating a lot of junk recently. So I was like, let me get some sleep. So I laid there and I purposely put on this video where this man has a soft speaking voice. I've talked about ASMR in several of my prior videos. And that's a community on YouTube where people intentionally speak in soft voices. So they'll use soft voices to do stuff like give someone a haircut, and they'll give commentary on the haircut, or do a makeup tutorial, and they'll say ASMR, and they'll purposely be speaking soft because there's a whole community of people out there. I thought I was the only one until I discovered this community in my early 20s. But there's a whole community of people out there that like soft speaking voices, and it makes them sleepy. Similar to like when you hear rain on the roof, or when you come out the shower and you put the covers on and you wiggle your toes underneath the covers and you feel that comfortable feeling. That's the feeling you get when you hear a soft speaking voice for some people. And I'm one of those people. And apparently that's a symptom of Asperger's too, by the way, is stimming or self-soothing or finding things that are soothing to you. So anyways, I was listening to that video with that guy, and it's not a hobby, what's the word I'm looking for? There's a specific word I'm looking for, I can't think about it right now, but he has a niche on his channel where it's so cool. He's taking antiquated cans. So like cans from decades ago, like 1950s, 1940s, 1970s, 80s, you know, those type of cans like that of food. He's collecting them, right? Like he has a collection of those types of foods, and he opens it with a can opener and shows us what the food looks like. And sometimes he's so damn daring, he tastes the food too. It's crazy. So anyways, it's fun to watch. It's really, to me at least, I like stuff like that. To me, it's entertaining. So I like watching it, but then to add to it, he has a soft voice. It would be categorized as ASMR, some of the videos that he does unintentional ASMR. He's not like one of those people in the community that's intentionally making ASMR videos, but some of his videos would be classified as unintentional ASMR. So I love it, man. I'd be watching his videos all the time. I used to watch him way more than I do now, because now they shadow network and they try to insult me via the video. You know how they do. I've told you how they do this with the roasting, right? Where they'll like he'll be talking about some of the cans of food, like, oh, this looks disgusting, nasty, that, you know, and it's low-key like they're, shadow networking, right? Then they'll throw the word great in there or something like that. Like, they'd be playing games like that, mind games. But anyway, so this was what I was listening to, this soft-speaking man opening cans of food, and the volume wasn't even up all the way either. Obviously, if you're on the porch, or if you pull up in the driveway, because of the way that the house is and it's a small house, and I can't help it, my room, I was given the room that's by the porch, so my window and my bed is right by the porch. If I'm playing something on my phone, you're going to hear it. So at this point now, you're telling me I can't listen to anything on my phone is what you're saying, after a certain hour, like a child. That's what literally I'm being told. Because I was listening to that video quietly, about to fall asleep, I actually had started falling asleep. I heard a gruff voice by the window. Hey, I told you to turn that thing down. I said, turn what thing down? I said, you told me to stop making the song. I said, I'm listening to a video and it's not loud. He said, what? You arguing with me? And he flew into the room, right? And slammed into my room. And so he said, hey, I'm not arguing, and started shoving me. This is a man, elderly, but not that old, just entering into the realm of elderly. So still a strong man. And I'm a female. I'm a strong female, but a female nonetheless. And also I'm respectful. And if that's not an indicator that I'm not a threat, I don't know what is. Because I could have pushed back and fought back and really acted crazy. Anyways, y'all, sorry for the interruption. Anyway, so he starts putting his hands on me, right? And so if that's not an indicator that I'm not a threat, I don't know what is. If you're putting your hands on somebody and shoving them, and they actually have the strength, because I'm real strong at this point now, y'all. I'm deadlifting 230 in the gym. Right, I'm squatting 250. Actually, if we're being technical and we count the weight of the barbell, 265 in the gym. I'm really strong at this point. I don't know if I could take on a man, because obviously I got my strength from this person. This person's very strong and he's a man. At the end of the day, I'm the female version of him. So if I'm strong, you can imagine he's much stronger. I don't think I could take him on physically, but I'm strong enough where I could have put up a decent fight if I were that type of child. I'm not. And I was completely right in the situation. So instead, I just said, you're putting your hands on me? I said, what are you doing? You're putting your hands on me? And instead, he snatched my phone from me and went in the room. So at this point, I ran over to the room and I woke up the other person that stays in the room with him. And I said, trying to relate the story to her. She's not trying to hear it. She's trying to sleep. She has work in the morning. So she just starts screaming, I don't want anything to do with this. And then she kind of, it seems like, took his side and said, you'll get your phone back when you're going to work. I said, get my phone back when I go into work. I said, I wasn't. She said, we have told you several times to turn down the stuff in there. I said, but I was listening to a video in here. I said, I wasn't making a video like what you all have talked to me about. I wasn't making a poem. I was laying in my room listening to a video and the volume was turned down. And I started getting attacked by my window for playing a video in my room. So then she starts saying that, that's not, cutting me off basically and saying, I don't want to hear it. You'll get your phone when you're going to work. So I couldn't get my phone basically. Like I would have had to physically fight them to get my phone. Had it been someone else, they would have gotten a physical fight. There are several people in my family that have temperament that it would have been a physical fight. I simply went into my room, I got dressed for work, and I got my phone, and I left. All of a sudden now the next day I noticed this attitude from the other person in my close circle where she's telling me that I'm disrespectful and I'm this and I'm that, and she even left with her car. Typically I use the car to go to work. She knows that, she just left with the car. And it was just this thing with her where she started texting me that, what I'm paying isn't rent and I need to stop saying it's rent because I think I can tell them what to do in the house. And, it was just crazy how the thing turned from something that I wasn't wrong in. And it really just stemmed from me being upset about what they did with my credit report. This person then doing directed convo about it. Me having a reaction, not even a major one, not making a video or anything, thinking some thoughts. Then this person, it seems like now really being on top of me about noises, quote unquote noises. Me stopping, right? I stopped the poem that I was doing. He left. I'm laying in my room like I do every night, listening to a video at a low volume of a soft-speaking man opening cans of food, and I get attacked about it. So this is where I was just like, okay. And it was just like, it was even to the point where someone in my close circle actually started standing up for me because she heard and saw what happened, and it was ludicrous. So anyways, all now, it's the situation is still pending and unfolding. It's to the point where now I'm being told I need to be out in 2 weeks, and since you think you're paying rent and you're disrespectful and you don't understand respect, why now when you see what's going on with the credit report? Why now when now I have to take the money and save up for a down payment for a vehicle? Why now? It's just like this weird thing with the targeting that takes place. And then of course you have all the people in this neighborhood. They're all elderly. They're all good friends with this person in my close circle. Grew up for years and years and years with this person. So I could be as right as rain. They're still hardcore supporting this person, even when they know I'm right. And it's not even just this person, it's anyone in my close circle really that I get in a fight with. They're holding grudges for several reasons. They don't know forgiveness, and they're holding on to these grudges in this neighborhood. So anything that's popping off with me, it really could be someone even outside of the neighborhood that I'm having something with. They're making noises on top of me. I can be as right as that, I can prove it, lay it out in the video. They're still doing noises on top of me. I hate it in this neighborhood, and it's like I'm stuck in the damn neighborhood. Anyway, so that's what's going on. And it's such a freaking alternate universe too, because I actually grew up in this neighborhood. Of course, I didn't know the people like that. I knew the people directly next to my grandparents' house. So I had a relationship with those people. The other neighbors, like, in passing, see them, my grandma's hailing them up, or my grandpa. I never knew them like that. But it was always like this kind of cheery type of neighborhood, and it's like a place of happiness and safety, because this is where my sister and I used to catch bus and stay with my grandma and sleep over and come after school and hang out under the mango tree and all this type of stuff. And now with the targeting, it's like an alternate universe where this neighborhood is hell on wheels. Like, I cannot stand it in this neighborhood now. And then of course my grandparents aren't alive either, so that whole feeling of nostalgia is just gone. The house is taking like this twisted turn and these horrible memories. I remember when I found out we were moving to this neighborhood and to this house, I remember my heart dropping, because I knew with the targeting that my memories, the good memories I had in this house, in this neighborhood, were about to be replaced with bad ones. I knew it. I even thought it before we got here. Anyway, so that's what's going on now, y'all. It's a situation where now I'm being told I can't use the car. I'm being told I'm disrespectful. I'm being told that I'm not paying rent. I need to save my money to get a place. Where I'm not ready to get out there on my own and get a place yet. I'm nowhere near ready to get a place yet. I'm being told that I can't, the money that I'm trying to save for a vehicle, I can't save for the vehicle, right? Because I now need to take the money and try to get a place, and I need to try to figure out transportation. I have dirty uniforms. Every Sunday I borrow the car. I give gas. I use the car. I'm being told I can't use the car. So I have a pile full of dirty uniforms. I have work tonight and tomorrow, the same 2 jobs I've been working. Can't wash my clothes. Like, this is the situation now. And so I'm documenting it because it's just ludicrous and unfair. It's so unfair what's happening. Now hear the ref campaign in the background. This is how it works when you're a target. Unfair things happen to you. You're literally an outlaw, right? So you're not protected by the law for the most part. Like, things can happen that are unfair, and it's just how it is. And it's like it's not happening. You get gaslit into feeling like you're crazy. These are the things that happen when you're targeting. Also, they're humming on me, right? My vision's feeling weird. This is what starts happening. Remember what I mentioned earlier with the diagram from DARPA? My ears are feeling weird. So they're actually humming on me now too, y'all. And I'm actually right about this situation. Everything that's happened to me has been unfair, All of this unfair stuff has happened to me for years and years, because I sent an innocent text 4 years and change ago, All of this treatment for half a decade at this point now. For an innocent text I sent 4 years and change ago. Anyways, y'all, that's the video. I just want to document the recent updates of what's taking place now. So I'm going to put these videos together, and I'll talk to you in the next one, because you have some psycho next door. He's always getting involved. He's like batshit crazy, doing noise campaigns. So anyways, let me put the videos together. I'll talk to you in the next one. Peace out.